Okay, let's see how my audio is doing. If anyone's in the chat, let me know if my voice is clear over the background music. And I'll start reading in about 4 minutes. I don't have the chat on screen this time, but I am viewing it, and I will answer questions and acknowledge good comments when I have the time. But yeah, personally, I know a lot of people now are more familiar with the Gith or Githyanki in D&D thanks to Baldur's Gate. I think they looked their absolute best in this artwork. This was like their first artwork. They have never been improved, in my opinion, including the Jimmy Neutron hair. I think that's absolutely essential to their design. I can't believe they don't do that anymore. The book that came before this, the Monster Manual, was very important to me as a kid, but at the time I didn't even know there were more. I randomly found this one at like my grade school one day. This was one of the books the teacher had put in like the just like the bookshelf for kids to look at during recess and stuff. I don't know why, especially because back then we were still in the satanic panic about this game. It is like a baboon, the old Gith. I don't know what this is in the artwork. These, like, sacks, like fleshy sacks dangling off of the elbows. Those are pretty cool, though. I think those should also be an iconic part of their anatomy. But yeah, let's start. TSR Fiend Folio. Tome of Creatures, Malevolent and Benign. Let's zoom in on that a bit more. Doesn't really cooperate with being centered perfectly. There we go, good enough. Skip on past all this intro. Explanatory notes, we don't need those. Alright, the first one is the Aarakocra, Birdman. Certainly a Birdman, just what you'd expect in the illustration. I like how, like, scuzzy he is, though. Newer artwork of these is too dignified, in my opinion. Boy, this is a long entry already. The Aarakocra are a race of intelligent avian humanoids. Their society consists of small tribes of about 11 to 30, each with a hunting territory of about 10,000 square miles. The Birdmen live on high peaks in the mountains where they can soar all day on the winds and the thermals. Aarakocra have little to do with humankind beyond the occasional poaching of a farm animal. They appear incapable of distinguishing between domestic and wild animals, for this act is not one motivated by malice. Oh, they're stupid. They're stupid bird people. They have even less to do with demi-humans and actively dislike humanoids. Infrequently, an Aarakocra may agree to give information to, or act as a scout for, humans in exchange for shiny coins or gems. As they are extremely reluctant to leave their familiar mountains, such an act will only very rarely take place outside the birdman's own territory. I probably don't have to read these entire, massive entries. Oh, there's another drawing of the bird, a little close-up of the Aarakocra. Alright, let's see. The birdman's mighty wing muscles are anchored in a bony keel. They remembered bird anatomy, which projects forward from the chest a full foot beyond the normal extent of a human chest. The legs are powerful, with backwards bending knees and dangerous-looking talons. The feet are actually more dangerous than they appear. The talons can unlock and fold back, uncovering a pair of fully functional hands, each with 3 tough, powerful fingers and a thumb. So they have pop-out hands in their feet. I don't remember that. It is these nether hands that the birdman employs in aerial combat, either using the talons alone or clutching heavy fletched javelins, used for stabbing or for throwing. Each feathered warrior usually carries half a dozen of these javelins. Their most devastating form of attack is to dive upon a victim with a javelin in each nether hand, building up great speed. The birdman pulls out of the dive just as it reaches its target and snaps the javelins forward into its prey with great force and accuracy, meanwhile emitting a blood-curdling shriek. Aarakocra share with eagles the ability to plummet a great distance vertically downwards and pull out at the last moment. They are oviparous, and the females tend the eggs during their 8-month incubation period. It is these temporarily nest-bound females which fabricate all the javelins, tools, and other small items the tribe uses. The males do no work other than hunting. The females also weave the brilliant feathered banners and pennants which fly above the tribal nest and mark out their territory. Each tribe has a unique, highly individual design. The sight of an Aarakocra weaving is said to be impressive, as they do so while resting on their backs and using all 4 hands at the same time. Individually, their hands are not as dexterous as those of a human, but the extra pair more than compensate for this. See, I miss when they went into this much detail that you would never actually need or use, but it just, they're more, it makes them, more alive. Aarakocra speak their own language and that of the giant eagles, because, of course, the giant eagles, as we know from Tolkien, have their own language, with which they are on mutually respectful terms. 10% of Aarakocra also speak the common tongue. They get on very well with all forms of air elemental, and any 5 can summon an air elemental by chanting and flying through an intricate aerial dance. The air elemental will comply with the birdmen's requests as a favor, but will not fight to the death on their behalf, returning to its own plane before such an eventuality could occur. Rex Cool Guy in the chat says, putting one of those plastic owls on a post to keep the Aarakocra away from my trash cans. Exactly, I think that would work. This also says they are extremely susceptible to claustrophobia. Such is their fear of being closed in that they will not even enter buildings, and only a mad or insanely desperate birdman would venture below ground. Wasn't Jonathan the Birdman in the movie an Aarakocra? So this says that if an Aarakocra is seen inside a building, they're insane. I mean, it also says they're not supposed to really be human-level intelligence, so I guess Jonathan was, like, insane and a genius by Aarakocra standards. Oh, also, I gotta say, if the second half of a page has a monster that's, like, really, really good, I'm gonna cover it as a spoiler while I read the first half. And I'm gonna do so with this even more beautiful Githyanki from the back of the back cover of the book. So already we have a monster I don't want to spoil, which is saying something because this next one is pretty good too. The Aayai, I'm going to say Aayai. This monster, which I absolutely love, it's a big fat round bird head with little dinky wings and little angry, mean little Tweety bird eyes and a little hooked beak, and has 4 legs, very long legs, 4 stilty bird legs. And this creature, it's of average intelligence. This is as intelligent as a man, and it is chaotic evil. This fat Tweety bird head is evil and intelligent. Oh, hi, Rouse. You're just in time to learn about the Aayai. Though the foul motives which caused these loathsome birds to be first summoned from the infernal regions are now lost from memory, remnants of the original Aayai flock still stalk the earth, haunting shadowy places and underground passages. This does mean that they come from hell. The little fat bird head is a hellbird. In form, they consist of a huge spherical head body with a powerful beak and feathery crest, atop 4 long legs ending in strong claws. Man-sized opponents cannot usually attack the soft body, but can only reach the hard, metallic legs. Okay, the legs are also metal, or at least like metallically plated. Likewise, it will not usually be able to reach a victim with its beak and will therefore fight with 2 claws. So it can't bend down. It's a 2 tall bird head from hell. A beak attack, when this is possible, will have the hit probability of a 9 dice monster. We don't have to read all the game things. Oh yes, they are also they're 15 feet tall, to be precise. Yeah, Rex in the chat just said, oh, we're going to find out it's like 6 feet tall, and it'll immediately get less cute. No, it's 15 feet tall. The Aayai often travel in groups, and, though a group need never check morale, each individual will try to flee if it loses a leg. Though flightless, a bird often eludes pursuers with its long strides. Its movement rate is unaffected by the loss of a single leg, but the loss of 2 halves its movement rate. An injured leg will regenerate fully in about 2 days, but the birds do not possess other regenerative powers, and a leg which has been completely lost will not be regrown. If a bird loses 3 legs, or is otherwise seriously wounded, it will release a cloud of black toxic smoke, which in shape and size approximates a sphere. All within the cloud take 2 to 12 hit points of damage automatically and must save against poison or suffer insanity for 3 hours. In the confusion, the wounded bird will seek to escape. Okay, so you got that? This is a 15-foot tall, big bird head from hell with an insanity breath. And it's as smart as a person. And now I'm gonna unspoil the next monster. I'm gonna take the spoiler art off, so you can admire the adherer. This is it looks like a mummy, but as you can see, there's stuff stuck to this mummy. There's a sword just kind of stuck to his chest, like a moron. Sticks, maybe rocks. Also lawful evil and semi-intelligent. This curious creature bears a close resemblance to a mummy, man-sized and with folds of dirty white skin, which appear on first sight to be a mummy's bandages. Coincidentally, the creature is just as vulnerable to fire as a mummy, due to a resinous solvent in its body fluids. It is immune to all first-level spells except Magic Missile, The creature's skin constantly exudes a sour-smelling, glue-like substance with very powerful adhesive properties. Any material except stone will adhere to it. Okay, I guess there's no rocks stuck to it. Stone doesn't stick to it. Only fire, boiling water, or the creature's own voluntary secretions will break the adhesion. Thus, any weapon which hits the beast will adhere to it. Similarly, the creature will stick to any character it hits with its two-handed flailing attack. Its favorite tactic is to bind up an opponent in this fashion and use him as an involuntary shield. The sticky mummy. Sticky mummy, and it's not even really a mummy. It's not undead. It still has a mummy's weakness to fire, though. Like, I feel like that betrays the point. Usually, an adherer will catch its prey by waiting in ambush, camouflaging itself by rolling in dirt, sticks, and leaves, and then artfully arranging larger pieces of debris to conceal its form. And they get all dressed up. Yeah, pet hair, candy wrappers, old French fries. Any prey passing near its hideout will trigger its attack response, and the adherer will pounce on the closest target, attempting to hit and to cling with bulldog-like tenacity until the prey expires. However, if it is spotted and attacked before any prey has come into pouncing range, it will become confused and beat a hasty retreat. Boiling water will cause the adherer 1 to 3 hit points of damage if a sizable quality is thrown over the beast. Me too, honestly. The adherer's taste for prey is wide-ranging, and it will usually attack given a suitable opportunity. The only exception to this is the spider. The adherer will never attack a spider of whatever variety, and sometimes it has been known to cooperate them in trapping prey. Aww. It likes spiders. Pathfinder actually republished the adherer not too long ago. They made it, like, as edgy as possible. Like, they gave it this whole, like, dark, disturbing backstory where it, like, they used to be humans and they got caught between dimensions, and they cocoon you, and they, like, impregnate you with parasite spawn. That's not necessary. Adherer is perfect as is. It's a sad, stupid, sticky man. That's all you need. Let's see, Aliax. This is just like some guy. What is this? A manifestation of the vengeance of certain gods. That's kind of boring. I don't care about that. I do care about the Algoid. As you can see, the Algoid is a big muscly man with silly hair and, like, big fat, like, Ninja Turtle toes. But this creature appears as a green humanoid with coarse, rough features. Its appearance is misleading, however. It is in fact a colony of algae. Assembled in this form, it has developed some mobility and a rudimentary intelligence. Its form is only of a temporary nature. So this is algae that, like, temporarily made a man. It doesn't even look like a weird, like, gooey algae man. It's just the algae built, like, perfect, like, musculature and a hair and a nose and teeth. And, like, a blank, like, Ken doll crotch. The algae didn't want to be obscene about this, I guess. It's chaotic neutral. It is immune to psionic attacks but can deliver 1 mind blast per day. Edged weapons will pass through an algoid without doing any damage. So it is just solid algae all the way through. There's no bones, there's no organs. It has control over certain types of trees, similar to the control exerted over trees by the Trent. The types of tree over which the algoid has control are those which will be found near its normal habitat: swamp, lakeside pasture, events close to water. Thus it will be able to control 2 willows, water oaks, cypresses, or other similar varieties of tree. Trees thus controlled move at a 3-foot rate and strike with 2 attacks per round. It's a man-made of algae that can bring trees to life. What kind of algae, though? Like, algae isn't a taxonomic group. It's any single-celled organism that photosynthesizes. There's some of them aren't even single-celled. Giant kelp is an algae. There's algae that's like more related to us than it is to plants, and there's algae that's like a bacteria. What kind of algae is the Algoid? They also don't do anything with the fact that it's photosynthetic. I feel like the Algoid should be like the gimmick should be he can't do anything like in the dark. This music, this royalty-free Halloween music I found is very cute. Oh, but yeah, this next monster is the Almiraj. Almiraj. It's a bunny rabbit with a horn. Oh, and there's another favorite monster I'm gonna cover with a spoiler. Let's see, what about the Almiraj, though? Generally roams pastures and woodlands. Resembles a large yellow hare with a black horn. Intellect is severely limited and its behavior unpredictable. For instance, it may well attack for no good reason. If it is captured alive when young, the beast shows a surprising aptitude for training, and its fearlessness makes it a useful companion. So it's just a large unicorn rabbit that's like a little stupid. Okay, and then we have the Apparition. There's a skeleton man all draped in rotten rags. Really cool looking. This ghastly undead creature exists mainly on the ethereal plane, though in making its attack, in quotes, it can be hit, as if armor class 0, by magical or silver weapons. The Apparition has an emotive ESP ability, which enables it to sense potential victims up to 100 feet away, or is that 100 yards? It surprises a party or an individual on a roll, yada yada, due to its uncanny appearance from wall, floor, or ceiling, using the surprise thus gained to close the distance between it and its victim. In actuality, the Apparition is unable physically to attack. However, its chosen victim will feel bony claw-like fingers at the throat. This effect is felt even through armor. Even though the victim may be aware that the Apparition cannot physically do them harm, the suggestion is immensely strong. The victim must roll 3d6. A total under their intelligence means that the suggestion is ineffective and the victim is immune, though only to that individual apparition. A total equal to or greater than the victim's intelligence means that they are stricken with horror and must again roll 3d6. This score is matched against their constitution. If the total is less than the constitution, the victim flees in terror for 1 to 4 rounds. If the total is equal to or greater, the victim suffers a massive heart seizure and dies instantly. So it's a skeleton on like another dimension that just scares you to death. And now I'm going to unspoil the next monster. I love this little guy. This is the assassin bug, which is not what an assassin bug looks like in nature. An assassin bug in real life is closely related to stink bugs and bed bugs. It has like a proboscis it uses to kill other insects and other prey. This, though, is just a big fly. Or it's a big fly, but it has 4 wings, which is not accurate to a fly. It does also have like humanoid limbs. It has only 2 arms and 2 legs, and this weird little kind of not a fly's proboscis, but just as interesting little mouth there. Just adorable. Yeah, it is basically named after what it does rather than its taxonomy. Resembling giant bluebottle flies with 4 limbs, the assassin bugs are rarely seen except during their mating season, when a male and female may be encountered flying in search of a host for their offspring. The natural host is human, but assassin bugs have been known to lay their eggs in demi-humans and rarely humanoids. The male will always attack first, biting a victim for 1 to 4 hit points of damage while the female flies nearby, as close to the intended victim as possible, consistent with not risking being attacked. If the male's attack succeeds, its saliva will paralyze the affected area of the victim's body. As soon as one of the male's attacks has achieved the desired paralyzation, the female, which detects the scent of the male's saliva, will attack the affected area. If successful, the female implants her egg into the victim's body. The female will die as soon as the egg has been implanted. That's sad that they stay together, like they mated for life, and then she dies, laying 1 egg. It's not just 1 larva, though. The egg will hatch, producing 7 to 12 larvae 13 to 24 hours after it has been implanted. Yeah, polyembrony, as Rev just said. During this period, only a very powerful spell, such as a limited wish or heal, will remove or kill the egg. You'd think you could like cut it out, though, like surgically, or just chop the limb off. When the larvae hatch, each one will cause 1 hit point of damage to the host each hour as it devours the host's internal organs. After 2 weeks, the larva will leave the host, burrowing out through the area in which the egg was originally implanted and causing an additional 5 to 8 hit points of damage. I don't think that matters after 2 weeks of them eating your organs every hour. I feel like you would be pretty dead by then. As soon as they are outside the body, they will metamorphose into fully grown assassin bugs. So they skip having a pupal stage, I guess. While the larvae are in the host's body, they can be killed by a number of spells cast on the host.
I just assumed they pupated inside the body.
Yeah, maybe they pupate in the body. Rev just suggested that too, like some parasitoids already do.
It's typical for bot flies. We seem to be flies.
Yeah, that's basically how bot flies work. Assassin bug eggs are regarded as great delicacies by trolls, troglodytes, and bugbears. The eggs themselves are 4 to 5 inches long and oval, colored a deep blue. So yeah, just a cute little, well, not little, like it's like I think it's, how big is it? Where's the size? Yeah, they're like baby size parasitoid flies. Astral Searcher. This does not have an illustration. It's an invisible entity. Mindless shells of nebulous humanoid shape. Created by concentrated or traumatic human thought. Violent death, spells cast while on the astral plane, and astral combat also often result in the creation of astral searchers. An event quite unknown to their creator or source. Driven by their past connection with material beings, astral searchers seek material bodies with complete singleness of purpose. Wandering the astral plane, they search for weak points in the fabric connecting the astral plane to the prime material plane. They cluster at such points, waiting for the stress lines to become collinear so that they can pass from the astral to the material through the singularities thus created. Such weak points exist naturally. They may also be created during astral travel, in which case they exist only temporarily. Yeah, so they possess your body. They're like weird accidental offshoots of your mind when you're astrally projecting. They're not like undead spirits, though. It's like a psychic phenomenon. Neat. Now, but here's the babbler. This is like a silly dinosaur thing. Kind of like like what people used to think dinosaurs looked like a dumpy lizard standing on its hind legs. It's got really weird like skin going. It's got like swirls and little boils and warts all over it. And then this like utterly like crazed expression. This is a weird mutation of lizard men. Babblers are large, ponderous marsh dwellers known as marsh gibberers to native tribes dwelling near their swamp habitat. Their predominant color is a dirty yellow, though their undersides are gray. Mottled gray patches create weird designs on their muscular bodies. In form, the babbler resembles a small gorgosaurus with a flexible tough tail employed to keep the creature stable. Normal movement is a surprisingly fast slither on its stomach, but in melee it must stand erect. So it has legs, but it slithers around like a snake on its belly. I really like that visual. Like a Godzilla just like slithering. It's like legs are like dragging behind it. When moving on its belly, it is difficult to detect, but animals will smell it some distance away. It is particularly fond of human flesh and will attack humans unless outnumbered more than 2 to 1. Raiding parties of marsh-dwelling lizardmen have been observed to be led by 1, 2, or even 3 babblers in an evil quest for human flesh. The babbler communicates with its kind in a quasi-lingual babbling tongue which defies efforts of analysis and learning by humans. I'm surprised it doesn't have like a power. I'm surprised its babble doesn't like drive you crazy or something. Let's see, giant bats. That's just a giant bat. We already know what that is. Berbalang. This is like a little gargoyle man, kind of like an imp or goblin with bat wings. The Berbalang is a solitary biped with leathery skin and bat-like wings. The creature spends the greater part of each month in an apparently dormant state, hibernating preferably in a well-hidden cave. Though seemingly comatose, the Berbalang is actually roaming the astral plane, where it spends its time hunting and killing creatures weaker than itself, and engaging in bizarre and complex courtship and mating rituals with other Berbalangs. If its body is discovered and interfered with during the creature's astral roaming, the Berbalang will attempt to return to the body and animate it. However, this can take a long time depending on the Berbalang's actual distance away across the planes. If the body is destroyed, the astral Berbalang dies as well. For this reason, the creature takes a great deal of care in hiding itself and is very ingenious in this regard. For 3 days each month at the time of the full moon, the Berbalang returns to its material body, only to alter its form of trance and send forth a physical projection of itself upon the prime material plane. The projection flies in search of food, a freshly killed human corpse. The projection is physical in the sense that it can receive and inflict damage, and in this respect it is a duplicate of the original. The Berbalang can use all senses of the projection, quest for food. So it's like a little Batwing goblin guy who can like project a copy of himself. And the original is just always like hiding and meditating, almost like its whole life. If the projection is killed, it disappears, and there's a 75% chance the original will also die from system shock. If the projection is forced back to the body before it was able to feed, or if the projection was destroyed before feeding, a new projection will go forth as soon as possible, regardless of the phase of the moon. He respawns as many times as he wants. If it kills a human, it will immediately pick up the body and fly at full rate back to the host, which will immediately emerge from its trance. While in flight, the projection will be feeding on the body. A fully grown human can thus be devoured in one turn, leaving only bones, garments, and equipment. Oh, they're big. They're not little imp guys. They're like almost bigger than you. Yeah, I love their like miserable faces. This is another good one. The blindheim, I guess is how you'd pronounce it. This is a bipedal scaly frog creature, and its eyes are just like intensely bright searchlights. This subterranean creature is a yellow frog-like humanoid with huge eyes that shine like searchlights. While in repose, the beast keeps its eyes turned off by means of an extra eyelid. However, it can attack instantaneously by opening its eyes, and its acute sense of hearing will usually indicate to it the direction of its target. Those who come within its beams are blinded for 11 to 20 turns. Anyone with infravision in that range must save at -3. Those not blinded will still be unable to look directly at the beast, so its effective armor class is 1. However, if for any reason an attacker is immune to bright light, its armor class is 3. When at close quarters, it attacks with a vicious bite. They don't tell you much more about the blindheim in this book. I know it was republished later with a little bit more lore. If the eyes of a dead blindheim are open, they are seen to be a dull gold in color. Bloodhawk. That is just a big hawk. It's a big hawk that prefers to eat people, and that's basically it. They love human flesh. Giant bloodworm. This one's cute. It's just a big lumpy worm with like a toothless, wobbly mouth and little fishy, googly eyes. Giant bloodworms are usually found in the shallow pools of underground caverns. They cannot swim but propel themselves along the bottom of such pools or on nearby firm ground. Their underbelly is a dark slimy brown, while their upper surface is mottled green. Lying half in, half out of a pool, a giant bloodworm is easily mistaken in dim light for a moss-covered boulder. There wouldn't be green moss in an underground cavern, though. And there wouldn't even be dim light. This is an animal camouflaged for, like, the surface environments, not subterranean environments.
I know later on they went on to give like the Underdark like lush fields and cows and things like that.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Newer books give like magical artificial light to the Underdark, and there can be forests down there and stuff. It's silly. Yeah, it's not nearly as interesting as just ecosystems adapted to perpetual darkness. Let's see. Giant bloodworm will only attack if hungry or if trodden on. When it does attack, it will attempt to fasten its large suckered mouth onto a victim. If successful, it will drain blood each subsequent round. It's cute, but it's fairly basic. It doesn't do anything that special. And the Bone Snapper is interesting.
Did you read about the brain moss? That it was a moss that grew in the Underdark that mind players could eat?
The Bone Snapper is another, like, Tyrannosaurus biped lizard thing, but this one has, like, a goofy, like, fleshy bill kind of face. Kind of reminds me of a platypus, except that it has fangs. A small descendant of a long-extinct class of carnivorous dinosaur, as stupid as it is aggressive. The large jaw contains many sharp teeth, which is not what the artwork shows. Artwork shows like two big fangs on the top and bottom jaws. Though non-intelligent, the Bone Snapper has inherited a primeval instinct for the collection of human bones, particularly jaw bones, which it uses to decorate its subterranean lair. The number of such bones discovered in a lair will give a good indication of the occupant's status among its kind. So it's just a silly little dinosaur thing that likes jawbones. Buka. Buka is a little mischievous little gremlin man, a little fairy, like elf ears. Sprite-like creatures given to dwelling in attics, in eaves, and on sunny rooftops. They hate cold, and in such climes will always be inside near chimneys. On bright sunny mornings, they will sweep the stairs or porch of the place they dwell in, always doing so when there is nobody around to observe them. So they're one of those cute little house elf kind of things. If disturbed when involved in such tasks, they will become angry and immediately remove to a new home. They can become invisible. They hate evil creatures and will play tricks on them if given the opportunity, hiding valued objects, tangling things like rope, hair, clothing, and generally causing trouble. If a buka is captured or harmed in any way, it is certain that others of its ilk, aware of this act, will bring dozens of other buka to cause mischief and trouble until the offender frees the captive or makes amends for the harm by giving a valuable gift. Failure to placate angry buka will eventually result in some sort of fatal accident, for the creature will place snares and traps for the offender. And here's the bullywugs, which are considered a classic by now. These adorable little precious little froggy men. They're chaotic evil, but I mean, like, who cares? They're little froggy men. A batrachian race of bipedal monsters which inhabit wet places, rainy forests, marshes, damp caves, or virtually any other place which is shady or dark and has water nearby, for bullywugs need to dampen their skins from time to time. Me too. Some types of these creatures are more intelligent than others. The intelligent groups tend to dwell in caves or deserted human habitations, and they will usually have armor, shields, and various forms of weapons. The less advanced hate their more intelligent fellows and war upon them. See, they're good at swimming. They're good at hopping, of course. Bullywugs have a chameleon-like power. Their skin coloration can be gray, green, or brown in light or dark shades. Thus, if motionless and in an area which allows use of camouflage power, a bullywug is 75% unlikely to be noticed. When attacking unnoticed from camouflage conditions, it has a 3 in 6 chance of surprising its victim. The major weakness of these creatures is that unless they are employing long weapons, their attacks always take place after those of their opponents, due to slow speed or movement, or exposure while hopping. Bullywugs have organized bands and are always led by a large individual with a full 8 hit points. If 30 or more of these creatures are encountered, there will be at least 5 large individuals and a leader of 10 to 13 hit points, doing +1 damage on all attacks. These creatures will readily serve chaotic evil masters, human or otherwise. Right there, like, once you know that, like, why would you ever want to be anything but chaotic evil in Dungeons and Dragons? And, like, bullywugs love you. You get little frogmen do whatever you say. It is rumored that bullywug human crossbreeds are viable, and that certain degenerate humans dwell in mixed communities with these monsters. There's just
somebody really hates frog furries.
There's canon frog fuckers. Oh, serving unnamed things from caverns deep beneath the earth. Okay, so it's like a Lovecraft Innsmouth thing, just with frogs instead of fish. And yeah, here's the Bunyip. That's from Australian folklore. And very, very, very cute in its illustration. Like, all we see is, like, this really shaggy, like, seal head with little teeth, but it's also kind of fishy. Like, it's not like a regular seal. It's got, like, big black fish eyes. An aquatic beast resembling a seal covered in thick black fur, with a black mane and unusually powerful jaws. Found in lakes, marshes, and sluggish rivers, is a mischievous beast of playful intent, but is large and strong enough to tip over a small boat. It can also sense the approach of human beings, and may rise momentarily above the surface to roar at a nearby party of adventurers. All members must save against wands or flee in panic, as it's a magical roar that scares you. If a small creature such as a dwarf is struggling in the water, the Bunyip will usually bite in an attempt to sever and swallow a limb. Why dwarfs? But it will not attack anything larger than a dwarf, except in self-defense, or unless the victim is already bleeding. Why does it bite the arms and legs off of dwarf characters?
I'm telling you haven't thought about it.
And the next monster is the Carbuncle, which is a little armadillo with a gem on its head. This small creature is similar to an armadillo with an armored upper surface of small interlocking plates of tough leathery skin. Feeds exclusively on leaves and small insects, and is rarely found outside areas where there is a copious supply of such food. Its upper surface armoring is attractively patterned in shades of brown, while its underbody is light gray, flecked with small green patches. Set in its head, immediately above its eyes, is a large ruby. This is actually part of the animal, and if the beast dies, the ruby will shatter into worthless dust. The creature may, however, be coaxed into giving up its ruby by a wizard, or anyone of equal status who uses a charm monster or charm animal ability. If successfully removed, a carbuncle's gem will regrow at the rate of a value of 100 gold pieces per month. The creature has empathy and telepathy, communicating via the latter, and also slight powers of prophecy concerning the immediate future. Its power of empathy enables it to understand the character of each person it encounters and know what that person knows, though its intelligence does not permit it to formulate more than very basic concepts. So this one is like specifically designed to be a really cute and useful little pet. If you find one in your adventure, it's a little helpful telepathic armadillo that farms money from its head. If attacked, it puts up no resistance and is easily captured. It can will itself to die, however. It has no fear or conception of death and will give up its life if placed under duress. It will usually approach a party of adventurers and communicate the value of its gem to them, seeking to accompany the party. When this objective has been achieved, however, and it has gained the confidence of the party, its malicious nature will lead it to try to cause disruption within the group. Oh, so it's not a little fun pet. It's a little bastard. Using selective telepathy and prophecies, true or false, to breed hostility, suspicion, and even fighting between party members. Alternatively, but rarely, it may communicate secretly with nearby monsters to enrage them into attacking the party. Its motives in spreading such dissidence are not entirely clear, but it is the belief of certain sages that the carbuncle's inability to comprehend death makes it fascinated by combat and particularly by death, to the extent that it will do its utmost to promote such events. Having achieved its objective, the carbuncle will watch the events in morbid fascination. Then, choosing an opportune moment, it will quietly slip away. It's so cute! All of that makes it cuter. It comes to you and wants to be your friend, and it generates money, and then it turns you on each other until you murder each other or get murdered by a monster. I like using telepathy to enrage nearby monsters. So it reaches out to the Bunyip or whatever. It's like, hey, this dwarf said you're an asshole. Okay, the next monster is Caryatid column. Am I pronouncing that right? The art just shows a doorway full of darkness with little glowing, scary eyes in it, but to either side of the doorway is a naked lady statue with a sword. And that's this monster. That's the statues, not the scary eyes in the door. Much like stone golems in that they are created by means of a magical tome or by a magic user. However, the cost is slightly higher. The result is a slim, decorative stone pillar about 7 feet high. A casual glance will reveal nothing more than this decorative piece of stonework, which will perhaps stand with an identical partner either side of the entrance into a chamber. Closer inspection will reveal that the column is not radially symmetrical about its longitudinal axis. Well, this is describing an actual column, just a cylinder, not a naked lady statue. But it's saying, you closely inspect it and you notice it's not radially symmetrical. I should think you would notice that. Oh wait, no, okay, it goes on to say that. Closer inspection will reveal that it is not radially symmetrical and has the very slender shape of a human female. Once such detail has been discerned, it will be clear to the observer that one of the hands of the female, held close to her side, carries a slim sword. Yeah, incredible powers of observation. Will always have a specific defensive function. Never be meant as a wandering monster. It might be to guard a treasure chest, to prevent intrusion, or another similar task. Yeah, this just does exactly what you expect. It comes to life and fights you, and then it gets back on the column and turns back into stone. Now the next monster is Caterwaul, which is like a lion with kind of a man face. It's also chaotic evil. It's evil. It's an evil cat. Evil man face cat. The caterwaul is a solitary, vicious feline bipedal predator. It's not really shown bipedal in the art. I guess it's leaning on a rock. Has short midnight blue fur, yellow eyes, and a long tail. It's a big blue kitty with a man face and an evil nature. Its treasure will consist only of shiny objects, and it is particularly fond of gems. The walls of its cave will be covered with raking scratch marks where the caterwaul has honed its claws. It has an uncanny natural agility which varies from individual to individual. Can move swiftly on 2 legs and can reach top speed in short bursts when dropping to all 4s. It's just a big blue fast man-face kitty that hoards treasure. Cifal. This monster is called the Cifal. Cifal. And the art just shows like a very rough, lumpy humanoid with a little cone head and like no features. This is a weird one. The Cifal. The name is acronymic of Colonial Insect-Formed Artificial Life. It is an agglomeration of several swarms of insect, several 100,000 insects to each swarm, which come together to form a single amorphous creature about man size. Yeah, it does look like Gumby. The mass as a whole has 8 hit dice. Another 2 hit dice are involved in providing the nuclear energy required to keep the constituent swarms locked in a single body. So it uses radiation to turn bugs into this Gumby. And that's basically it, really. It doesn't do... It attacks by an agglomeration of tiny bites. So just what you'd expect. It can't fly or it'll come apart. That's obvious. Then we have the clubneck. This monster is just a bird, like a flightless bird with a pointy beak. Like the terror birds, the prehistoric big birds that ate people. This says, though, that it's a mutated ostrich. That's basically it. They're mutant ostriches that kill you. Oh, wait, no. Normally they are herbivores. Okay, they're just mutant ostriches. A little bigger, a little more dangerous. Coffer corpse. This is another cool-looking, raggedy zombie ghoul. I always liked this face. This stood out to me. It's the same artist who illustrated the Gith on the cover. It's like that long skull is just cool looking to me. It's pretty much just a souped up generic undead, though. So the description continues down here. Nothing too special about the coffer corpse. But now we are on the crabman. And the crabman, the original crabman, nowadays they actually look like crab people, but in the original, they were just like these buff men with crab claw hands, and they have like naked bird heads, like not even like a man crab head, but it's like if you shaved Gonzo, a little droopy nose. Amphibious creatures usually found in seashore caves. Crabmen are humanoid but with a hard reddish-brown exoskeleton. They value silver and will go to any lengths to obtain it, even attacking a character suspected of carrying any item made of this metal. In normal circumstances, however, they are quite passive. They are quite pacific creatures. I think they meant pacifistic. Though from time to time an instinct makes them leave their coastal dwelling to mount a savage raid inland, roaming in bands of 30 to 40 and pillaging all property in their path. not hesitating to attack those who would defend. They are often subjected to raids by Sahuagin. Sahuagin? I don't know how that's a classic D&D fishman, but I've never been sure how it's pronounced. Apparently they consider crabmen a tasty delicacy. But yeah, the previous page is one big splash image of a crabman battle. It's not a good look for either the crabmen or perhaps the artist. We could fix it though. Like let's say these people they wanted out of a very very awkward, very unpleasant evening with this wizard. This wizard here, he never shuts up. So this girl and this girl, they texted their crabman friends and they were like, "Hey, can you come get us and make it look like you're pillaging and stealing us? We don't want to offend this wizard. We just hate him." And this guy, you can see he's crawling away, hoping nobody notices. He's getting out of there too. This guy, he's been friends with the wizard a long time, so he can't really stand him either. But he doesn't want to hurt his feelings. He wants to look like he's trying. This lady is not involved. She was napping on this dirty rock when all this happened. And this man, he's dead. A crabman killed him. There we go. That's the crabman. And now we have the crypt thing. And this one is wonderful. You're going to love crypt thing so much. He is just a gloomy skeleton in a robe. Well, here he's not. In this other illustration, he looks not so gloomy. He looks kind of like a little shit. But, a pale, solitary skeletal being which always wears a brown hooded robe. The crypt thing stays in its lair permanently, and will not attack if it is left undisturbed. Its special power is an unfailing ability to cast an improved form of a teleportation spell on a party. Those who fail to make their saving throws are instantly teleported according to a percentile die roll on the table below. They will randomly, they just sit there. They just hang out in their lair, and they won't mess with you. They aren't mean. They will not attack if left undisturbed. That's what it says. But if you do piss off the crypt thing, he will just teleport you up to like a 1,000 kilometers away, random direction. Her distance and direction are determined individually for each victim teleported. Victims never arrive in solid material and will arrive in the closest open space to the target spot. If the target spot is solid, however, victims need not arrive at floor level. Those who make their saving throws may attack the crypt thing, but can only be hit by magical weapons. It can communicate in the neutral tongue, but if questioned on the disappearance of some members of a party, it will not reveal its power and instead maintain that they have been disintegrated. And so he'll teleport your friends away, and then he'll be like, no, yeah, he's dead. I killed him. I disintegrated him. And also, there are rumored to be aberrant crypt things in existence, which, instead of teleporting victims, paralyze them and simultaneously turn them invisible. Neither this nor the more common type feeds on victims, however. Their aim appears to be solely that of obtaining pleasure by creating confusion and dissent. So a massive troll, he either teleports you like miles away or just shuts you up and turns you invisible. Either way, he tells your friends that you're just gone, that you're dead. I guess he tries not to laugh until they leave. It doesn't say what happens after that, though. Like, with the paralysis thing. Like, does he just leave you there, like, permanently, to just starve to death like that? I don't know. Anyway, the next monster is Dakon, and this is a gorilla that is just drawn as just a gorilla with a treasure chest. It says, a shabby, intelligent ape with a reasonable grasp of the common tongue. The Dakon will never attack except in self-defense or to recover treasure stolen from it. Has a suspicion of the motives of humanoids and will not communicate with them. It's a smart gorilla, that's it. It's a smart talking gorilla. Now the next one is the Dark Creeper. This kind of unfortunate design. It's like a little raggedy man with a big giant hook nose. The Dark Creeper, a folk name for the race since the race name is unknown and the language incomprehensible. Humanoid, slightly built creature about the same height as a dwarf. They detest light and dwell deep underground. Particularly fond of small magical items. Oh yeah, they steal things from you. There's no reason this encounter wouldn't just be like any random band of thieves, but this is a species of all thieves. Okay. They can project darkness, I guess. I'm unimpressed. And what's the Dark Stalker? This is also just a man. Oh, they're the rarely seen leaders of the Dark Creepers. Nearly a race apart, for they breed almost exclusively amongst themselves. They're just taller. Oh, if you kill a Dark Stalker, they explode. That's another thing. Death Dog. This is a dog with 2 heads. Large black hounds with 2 heads. The death dogs can attack with each head independently. They usually hunt in packs in deserts or in dry areas underground. Oh, and they have a... If you're bitten by the death dog, you get a poisonous rotting disease. Death Knight. The Death Knight, and there are only 12 of these dreadful creatures known to exist, is a horrifying form of lich created by a demon prince. It is thought demogorgon, from a fallen human paladin. The Death Knight itself cannot be turned or dispelled, but it has power over undead equivalent to that of a 6th-level cleric. So just an undead evil paladin, about what you'd expect. And now we're in the demons. There's always a great section of any D&D monster book. We don't need to recap what demons are in this long description, but there is Lolth. I think this is the first time she was printed in a book. I think she was printed in an adventure before this. The original Lolth is just like this spider with like a woman's head and a big fat butt, a big booty-shaped abdomen. Actually, kind of like bolus spiders in real life. The demoness Lolth is a very powerful and feared demon lord. She usually takes the form of a giant black widow spider when she is on the prime material plane, and she sometimes assumes this form on her own plane as well. But she also enjoys appearing as an exquisitely beautiful female dark elf. Little is known about her aims, and only the fact that the drow worship of Lolth causes her to assume form on the earth permits compilation of any substantial information whatsoever. I mangled that sentence, but it's also written weird. Lolth enjoys the company of spiders of all sorts, giant specimens in her arachnid shape. Giant species in her arachnid shape, those of normal, large, and even huge type in her humanoid form. She is able to converse with all kinds of spiders, and they understand and obey her unquestioningly. Although Lolth has but 66 hit points, her high armor class prevents most damage, and she is able to heal herself at will, up to thrice per day. As she enjoys roaming about in one form or another, she will seldom be encountered in her lair, no matter what the plane, unless worshippers have invoked her to some special shrine or temple. Sorry, I had to turn my microphone off a second and get a drink of water. Okay. In the form of a giant spider, Lolth is able to cast web strands 30 feet long from her abdominal spinnerets, which are equal to those of a web spell. The webs are also poisonous, it says. As a giant spider, she can use any of the following powers. Long list of spells. Lolth is not affected by weapons which are not magical. She can see into the infrared and ultraviolet spectra to a normal distance of 120 feet. Oh, is that the only demon in the book? Because there's this demon section, and it introduces demons, and then there's Lolth, the demon queen of spiders, and then there's no more. It moves on to like non-demon monsters. That's fair. I guess it's fair to give Lolth like her own entire page about demons. But yeah, this is the illustration of her that I always remember as like my go-to, because I read this book when I was a little kid, and this was my introduction to Lolth. So she will always be just this like vampire lady head on the giant ass spider. So this monster is Denzelian, and the picture just shows like kind of a featureless blob like silly putty that's like eating a rock. The Denzelian is a peaceful rock eater, very thin but of large surface area. It tunnels through solid rock at the rate of a foot per week, slowly wearing it away. Generally, one male and one female tunnel near one another. The creatures will avoid metal, making a detour round even small deposits. Hence, Denzelian tunnels tend to follow a meandering course. Because they look like stone, have a repulsive smell, and are indigestible, Denzelians are rarely bothered by flesh-eaters. During its 1,000-year lifespan, the Denzelian female ovulates once only. If a male is nearby, the resulting litter contains 3 to 8 eggs, which hatch in 100 years. The eggs look like nondescript fist-sized stones. Now, the egg is worth 1,000 gold pieces to mine owners. That's basically that's all there really is to the Denzelian. Is it carves out tunnels, and its eggs are worth money. So now we're on devils, which are distinct from demons in the world of Dungeons and Dragons. Is there only going to be like one this time? I can't remember. Let's see. Styx Devil, a greater devil. There's just like a guy with a big forehead and wings. Residents of the 5th plane of hell. Styx devils are humanoid, but with disproportionately large, ugly heads, and wings of black trimmed with silver. Their main task is to search for souls to take back to Geryon. But from time to time they will tour the material plane with intent to destroy all humans they meet. just a bad guy. And yeah, that was the only devil in the book. There's one demon and one devil. They both get their own intros. Devil dog. Stark white hounds with blue eyes. Devil dogs live in cold regions and when encountered in snow or frost are invisible beyond a range of 30 feet. They roam in packs in an endless search for food and will always attack human parties. Now they're just like white dogs in the snow. They have a cry that causes fear, like magically. Dire Corby is the next monster. This is a humanoid with bird feet and a crow head and a little horn on its head. This subterranean race of huge black bipedal birds contains ferocious fighters which need never check morale. Long ago, the dire Corbies lost the power of flight. However, they make up for this with their great strength and ferocity, always attacking and fighting to the death. What were once wings have now developed as two powerful arms which end in sharp, rock-hard claws. They fight with these claws, and each is capable of inflicting 1 to 6 hit points. I don't like that. I don't like that they're supposed to be like evolved birds, but they have a chiseled human torso and just human hands and arms. I think they have changed that maybe in newer editions. I think they look more like bird creature guys. They hunt in flocks, running down their hapless victims at the same time emitting horrifying shrieks. They have rudimentary language. Their attack cry can be recognized as "Doom! Doom!" by those familiar with it. Dire Corbies live in large underground caverns. At one time, there was open warfare between them and giant bats, but this has now become an uneasy truce. Disenchanter. This is like a llama camel thing with a really long wiggly nose that's like sticking to like a magic shield here. You can guess like exactly what this is. It disenchants things. The disenchanter resembles a spindly, dromedary-like animal with a long, flexible, and muscular snout, which can extend as much as 5 feet from the head in attack. It is a pale electric blue in color and slightly translucent. Sometimes it may even be seen to shimmer discernibly. It has the power to detect magical dwemer from magical armor, shields, swords, and the like, on which it feeds, drawing its sustenance from the powerful enchantments such items carry. It eats enchantments right off of all your cool stuff. Doom bat. This is a bat with a long tail. Species of giant bat. Oh, it's like a 25-foot wingspan. Can pick up and carry objects weighing 300 pounds. The normal bat's sonar yip has developed into a terrifying shriek of great sonic power in the Doom bat. That's pretty cool. Oriental dragons is the next section. Now, the original monster manual had like all the Western dragons. This has all of the Eastern dragons, according to D&D canon. So let's say there's the Li Lung, the Earth Dragon. It's like a lion with kind of a guy face, but like also kind of like a reptile jaws and wings. The only Oriental dragon with wings. These have a lion's body and a dragon's head with human features. They live underground and can swim, but cannot breathe water. They have no breath weapon, but once a day they can cause an earthquake. Lung Wang, the sea dragon, is like a big sea turtle. little like seahorsey or little alligator head. I like the flippers with like the two claws. That's pretty cool. But yeah, Oriental is an obsolete term. We don't use that anymore. These solitary brutes are Oriental relatives to the dragon turtle, with a turtle's body, crested neck, and head like a shenlong. They have the scaly command power. What's the scaly command power? Does that mean like anything that's like reptilian? As rulers of the seas, Lung Wang demand tribute from every passing ship. And they have their own language. I like the bonus art of it, just eating a little man. Pan Lung, coiled dragon. This one's just like a lizardy dragon with a very long tail. Smaller, thinner, and longer variety of the shenlong. They live in marshes and swamps. We haven't gotten to the shenlong yet, so this doesn't really have context. Unlike the shenlong, they have no tail spike. They can fly, breathe water or air at will, and have the scaly command power. There's the shenlong. This just looks like a... This is just like a big, like... This is just a big lizard. It's like an anole. That cute little anole. Though it's 48 feet long, apparently. The most common Oriental dragon. Shenlong are wingless, long, and four-footed. Inside the brain is an inextractable magical organ which gives it the ability to fly. They can control weather and ice storm. Scaly command. Immune to poison. Not much going on with these. Tianlung, celestial dragon. Live in high mountain peaks and cloud castles. This is like the classic, like Chinese dragon in design. They eat opals and pearls. Carp dragon, Yulong. This one's so cute. It's like a mermaid dragon with a goofy, like, creature from the Black Lagoon pig head. These shy creatures live in fresh water and have a dragon's head, 2 forelegs, and a giant carp's body and tail. They cannot fly, polymorph, or turn invisible. They have no breath weapon and breathe only water. Oh, so they're like the crappiest one. They're like the weakest. They really are like a Magikarp. Dragonfish. You would expect something called the dragonfish in this setting to be like more over the top, like a big like sea monster, but this illustration is a flounder with spikes on it, a spiky flatfish. I really like that. Dragonfish are 2 feet long, mottled brown flatfish, which lurk on the bed of a shallow freshwater pool or slow-moving stream or river. They are very difficult to spot because they merge extremely well with the background. They have a fringe of horny spines tipped with poison, which snap off in any victim who steps on them or puts his hand on them. The spines are very strong and will penetrate leather boots. So what people in this world call a dragonfish is just a flatfish with a really bad sting. Yeah, it's not even like exceptionally large. Dune Stalker. The Dune Stalker is a lanky, hairless, naked-looking man. A vile, naked human in appearance, bony and with long, sharp fingers and clawed toes. The Dune Stalker roams desert areas in response to summons from high-level evil magicians. It will attack good characters only. Any alignment combined with good will attract attack. Is a faultless tracker. Dunestalker's attack is usually by sonic vibration, which has a range of 60 feet and delivers 2 to 12 hit points of damage on a single target. So it just vibrates everything around it. In close contact, the Stalker can deliver the Kiss of Death by placing its lips in direct contact with skin. The sonic vibrations thus set up in the victim's body are of such an intensity that failure to make a saving throw versus spells means instant death. So it's a tall, lanky, naked man that everything around him vibrates, and if he kisses you, you vibrate to death. Elemental Princes of Evil. Powerful beings whose principal areas of domination are on the elemental planes. These are like super evil elemental monsters. First one is Cryonax, the Prince of Evil Cold Creatures. Yeah, he is like a shaggy ape with like octopus tentacles instead of arms. Not quite octopus. Like, he doesn't have like the rows of suckers like an octopus. It's just like 2 tentacles, and they're just kind of like covered all over in like suction cup pit things. Cryonax appears as a yeti with tentacles covered in suction cups, radiates 1 to 6 points of cold damage continually. Attacks with his 2 tentacles, each of which inflicts 5 to 20 hit points of damage. And will freeze you in place if he touches you with those. As a prince of evil cold creatures, evil creatures of cold, sorry, that's what it says. Cryonax may summon one of the following groups once per day: 1 to 4 white dragons, frost giants, yeti. Thrice per day, he can produce a triple strength wall of ice, hold person, ice storm, blast of cold. Lives in a huge castle of ice, quartz, and glass, situated at the juncture of the planes of air and water, drawing power from the negative material plane. An ice guy with a castle made of ice, quartz, and glass is fun. It feels like a troll. Like you never know what you think you're going to be able to like melt through it or whatever. It seems very obnoxious. Imix is the prince of evil fire creatures, and the illustration is some fire. It's kind of man-shaped. It's a fire with like a knob on top. There's an illustration here of Cryonax looking all nefarious with a white dragon friend. Adventure Time has ruined me, though. I automatically think of all ice villains as sounding like Tom Kenny until proven otherwise. Okay, so the fire guy, Imix, generally appears as a 18-foot pillar of fire. Lives in the depths of a monstrous active volcano. Everything else is like on these is just what you expect, just a list of their fire-themed villains and spells. Ogremock. There's a little accent on that E. Ogremock is the prince of evil earth creatures, and the illustration is like if it's like a potato. He's like a potato with like big thumb-shaped arms, and there's like just like pits in his face for like eyes and a mouth. Ogremock appears in a rough, apparently unfinished bipedal form, 10 feet tall. Lives in a great flat-topped mountain on the elemental plane of Earth. And then there's Ol Hydra, princess of evil water creatures. This one's a lady, and the art shows some water. She's Lady Water. She's evil Lady Water. Appears only near water as a watery amorphous blob, 20 feet in diameter. She attacks by enveloping and drowning victims. She has a longer entry than the other ones. Can ram ships with the force of 2 heavy galleys. Lives in a great undersea castle. There's great enmity between her and Imix, the fire guy, of course. Yan Si Bin, prince of evil aerial creatures. Yan Si Bin is naturally invisible, creating a slight disturbance in the air as he flies. So he doesn't even have a form. The illustration shows like a cloud around a castle. Lives in a great airy palace. I mean, any palace is probably airy. Oh, here's the drow. Is this the first book the drow were in? It's a drow. Everybody knows what those are by now. But this gets into some lore. They were regular elves, and then they were evil, and then they went underground, and being underground turned them black, which is the opposite of how it works in real life. They should really be like translucent elves without any eyes, actually, which would be a lot cooler. Might also be less like problematic. Enveloper. This is another like Gumby. There's so many like Gumby men. There's so many Gumbies in this book. There's another like doughy humanoid shape. The enveloper is basically a mass of malleable flesh in the form of a rough cylinder, 8 feet tall and 3 feet in circumference. It can form up to 5 appendages at will by reshaping flesh in the appropriate areas. When in view of humans or near humans, it will adopt approximate human form. It is basically of animal intelligence, of neutral alignment, with standard magic resistance, and no psionic capabilities. Strikes with 2 fists. If it kills a victim, its first act is to fall upon the body, which in 1 round is totally consumed, leaving all clothes, weapons, etc. behind. After a further delay of 3 melee rounds, the beast can use any of the victim's abilities. For example, it gains the victim's experience and knowledge, can speak with the victim's voice, can cast spells memorized by the victim, and so forth. As it consumes additional victims, it gains additional abilities and powers. In the case of mutual conflict of attributes or powers, one is discarded at random. It's pretty neat, I guess. I'd rather see an illustration of it as a cylinder, like they said. I think that sounds cuter than this awful Gumby man, Pillsbury Doughboy. There's the first book publication of the Ettercap. And this is when the Ettercap was just kind of like a hairy like goblin dog thing, and I still really like that. As much as I love arthropods, these are like spider themed creatures, and I always thought it was cool that they don't look like spiders. They don't even look like half spiders. A biped roughly man-sized with very long arms, protruding potbelly, short legs, and hairy skin. The inner cap has clawed hands and 2 poison fangs protruding one on each side of the mouth. They are cruel, cunning, and treacherous. The creature has silk glands like those of a spider located near the anus. These glands secrete a thin, very tough, silvery cord which the beast uses to make assorted weapons and devices. They get along well with all forms of spider. See, it's not that they're spider creatures. Nowadays, when they get published, they always have like spider heads and exoskeletons. And again, like I like spider creatures and insect creatures, but it's more compelling that these are like something unrelated to spiders that just also has venom and silk, and that's why they they relate to spiders. I think that's cool. Eye killer. This illustration is a snake. It's a bat with a snake tail, but it has like little wings, and its eyes are just like big white circles. I think there's newer illustrations of this that are more detailed and lifelike, like just actually a snake-tailed bat creature, but when I saw this illustration as a kid, I assumed it wasn't like anything like a mammal or a reptile. I thought of it as just kind of a weird, like rubbery thing with the shape of a bat snake. I still kind of like that, especially with this opening line. At birth, the eye killer is limbless and almost spherical. So it's born as just like a ball of flesh with eyes, I guess, and it grows into... Yeah, later it develops a bat-like upper torso on the body of a large snake. Its stunted wings cannot support flight. The upper part of its body is a dark gray-green, while the lower part is a medium green flecked with dull yellow. Its eyes are disproportionately large and apparently lidless. It doesn't like light. And it has a death stare, with a range of up to 50 feet. Its eyes gather illumination falling on them, amplify it enormously, and project it back at the light bearer in a powerful, narrow ray of intense light. If you get hit by this, you can die instantly. So it can't do that in total absolute darkness. It needs, like it turns your light against you, which is a very interesting gimmick. Bright enough light will repel it, though, especially torchlight. And this doesn't say that it, this doesn't say that it's necessarily aggressive or predatory. It just doesn't like light. If you bring light, it punishes you for it. Eye of Fear and Flame is an undead creature. It's a skeleton, another skeleton man in a robe. Although this says the face is always invisible. The interior of the hood being seen as an opaque black screen. That's not what's illustrated here. We can see it's a skeleton man. Constantly stalks the underworld seeking lawful or lawful neutral parties or individuals. It will command an individual or a member of a party to perform evil deeds. The nature of the deeds will vary, but they will be uniformly evil. If the eye is attacked or its commands are not obeyed, it will cast back the hood to reveal a bare skull with a red jewel in one socket and a black jewel in the other. The red gem, the red eye casts fireballs, and the black one casts fear. That's why it's called the Eye of Fear and Flame, which is a mouthful of a name for any creature, really. is said they were created by the chaotic evil gods for the destruction of lawfuls, or by the lawful neutral gods for their testing. The truth is hidden. It is rumored that only about 20 of these creatures exist. Fire Drake. A name that implies something much more majestic than what we're seeing here. Is like a fat cartoon dragon with like a little skeezy dog head, kind of. I mean, it's a dragon head. It just gives me the impression of a rude dog. Found only in rocky areas, the small dragonette, 4 feet long or thereabouts, resembles a miniature red dragon in appearance, if not in temperament. It's just like a littler, weaker knockoff of a red dragon. Oh, but its blood burns fiercely in air, though it is inert if kept in a container underwater. Swords dipped in the blood immediately become flaming swords for 3 to 6 rounds. So it's like a littler, crappier dragon, and it has useful blood. It's kind of sad how many monsters in this setting have, like, they have characteristics designed so that you'll want to hunt them and kill them. How do they even, like survive as species? Fire newt. This is just a humanoid newt. The main illustration just has like a goofy little pointy face with like, looks like his eyes are shut, but this other illustration is adorable. Look at these little fire newts. So they're little happy. You know what they look like? They have the same eyes and smile as Lowly the worm from Richard's scary books, the little worm that drives the apple car. That's what they look like. That's what they look like while they're about to like disembowel and behead this man. These distant relatives of the lizard men live in sun-baked rocky hills, volcanic regions, or any other locale which tends to be hot, dry, and sometimes sulfurous. They are sometimes known as salamen. Well, if they're salamanders, then they're not related to lizard men. The amphibians and reptiles are no closer to each other than they are to you.
Actually, we're more closely related to reptiles because we're both amphibians.
Oh yeah, we're much closer to reptiles than to amphibians. Once per day, they can breathe fire on a foe immediately in front of them with a 5-foot range. They are cruel marauders. If encountered, they will usually be members of a hunting party. They delight in torturing and roasting victims alive before feasting on them. They're so cute. That's the cutest little guy I have ever seen in any of these books, actually. In a fire newt layer, there will be an additional 70% females and 150% young, as well as a secret, closely guarded hatching ground containing 200% eggs. I guess they mean like in proportion to their overall population. Oh, here's like a bigger illustration of an adorable fire newt. It's riding another monster that's in this book. We'll get to that one later. Fire snake. There's like a snake with a weird little, like, not really a snake head. It's got like a round ball head with little angry, like, kind of like Pokemon eyes almost. But it is just a snake of fire. It likes fire. It has a paralyzing venom, but it lives in fire. And then we have another, the fire toad is The illustration's just a completely realistic normal toad, but breathing fire. A large red toad about 4 feet high and covered with warty purple excrescences. This beast shuns water and inhabits dry regions above and below ground. Hates water. It can spit fireballs. That's basically it. And then we have the flail snail. This is a classic. You got a big snail, and it's got a bunch of tentacles that end in like spiky balls. It says, this silicon-based mollusk averages 8 feet high at the crown of its shell and keeps its club tentacles in constant motion, flailing everything in its path. After all tentacles have been killed, the beast withdraws its head and the rest of its body into its shell. It will die in 1 to 3 turns, during which time it utters pitiful, wailing cries, which have a 50% chance per turn of attracting a wandering monster. Immune to fire. Its highly colored shell affords partial protection against magic. Fiend is a monster that's just like a lion man. Relatives of the gnolls. These beasts are powerful humanoids 6.5 feet tall. And it's just yet another, like, hairy monster man race. Flump. There's the Flump. This was the Flump's book debut. Look how cute it was. I mean, it's still cute. Hang on, I actually got one of the newer illustrations of the Flump just to remind everyone that the Flump is back. That little guy. When I got this book and I knew nothing about the game or the fandom or anything, I absolutely loved the Flump instantly. I thought it was absolutely adorable and wonderful. And I loved that it was intelligent and lawful good. That it was a friendly little floating eye stalk jellyfish. Other people did not appreciate that. This was considered like a stupid monster for the longest time. There were like somethingawful.com made fun of it, like, famously in their series of like so-called bad monsters. It was always it appeared in like all kinds of like web comics and gaming sites as just like a joke. But it got the last laugh. It's very popular now, rightfully. These strange creatures are saucer-shaped and pure white in color. The mouth is at the center of the upper surface, and either side of the mouth is a 4-foot-long eye stalk. 4-inch long, it says. The underside carries a mass of small spikes and numerous small tentacles. The Flump flies by sucking air into its mouth and expelling it through its underside. Normally it floats about... Oh wait, no, this is like 4 feet or 4 inches. 4 inches above the ground and can fly up to 10 feet. Particularly for attack purposes. Normally the Flump repels an attack with a squirt of foul-smelling liquid. Do they still do that? Do they still have like the skunk spray? I can't remember. For 1 to 4 hours afterwards, a victim struck by this liquid will be shunned by his companions, who will not be able to tolerate his presence within 100 feet until the effect wears off. If this method of repulsion fails, the Flump will rise above its target and drop vertically on its chosen victim. The spikes collectively inflict 1 to 8 points of damage, and the tentacles fill the wounds with an acid, which does an additional 1 to 4 hit points. A flump is helpless if turned over. Can communicate in the lawful alignment tongues, though its vocabulary is severely limited. The current lore these days, I know, is that flumps are, they're like psychovores. They feed on thoughts. But they live underground where most psychic creatures are evil, like the mind flayers. And the evil thoughts they have to eat are always like upsetting them and scandalizing them, if I remember right. Forlaren. The Forlaren is a nasty looking little what do you call a satyr? He's a little man with goat legs and horns. These creatures are descendants of the offspring of a good nymph and the greater devil who enslaved her. That's unpleasant. They wander alone, seeking vengeance on good and evil alike, as they detest their own existence in a limbo.
This reference the children of Anna?
Yeah, it does sound a little like the myth of Anna, the like nymph queen. Forlaren also has the ability to heat metal once a day by contact, and will use this mode of attack on the first opponent wearing metal armor they encounter in melee. That's a really obnoxious ability. They touch you and your armor heats up till it burns you. I feel sorry for these things. They didn't want to exist, and they're mad at both good and evil. I don't know why they'd be mad at like their mom though. Like, she didn't do anything. Huh. As soon as it has killed one character, the ambivalent nature of the Forlaren is revealed. It will show great remorse and will offer any survivors its services and powers. After a time, the dominant evil part of the Forlaren resumes control, and it will leave the party it is aiding. From that time on, the Forlaren will again attack on sight, including the party it earlier befriended if it encounters that party again. The period of friendship is variable and cannot be forecast with accuracy. Yeah, these little guys are sad. They're very, very ugly. They look terrible. They look so messed up.
Oh. Nice.
Frostman. The art of the Frostman is just as a man. A man with like not even like a fantasy man. This looks like a modern dude with slicked hair and sunglasses and a mustache. He doesn't look like he belongs in D&D. These are literally just guys who have an ice power. They can radiate a freezing cold of ice mist. Galtrit is a little bat-winged imp. A little butt. We're seeing it from behind in the art. We don't know what its face is like, but we know what its little butt is like. Galtrit is a small winged gremlin with a nasty disposition. It is colored a stone gray. A Galtrit will be found in areas containing dung, carrion, or offal. It will attack if disturbed by flying onto a victim, preferably unnoticed, and biting, locking its teeth into the victim's skin. The saliva of the Galtrit has an anesthetic effect, deadening the nerves and skin local to the bite for a full turn, during which it sucks blood at the rate of 1 hit point of damage per melee round. So it just feeds like a vampire bat. but it also hangs out in like piles of feces and rot. I feel like the bite should make you sick. He doesn't though. It doesn't have like a septic infection attack or anything. I feel like that's an oversight. Gambo. I love this one. I always remember this one. The Gambo. The drawing kind of just looks like a ghost thing, really. Like it looks like a tapering pale humanoid with clawed arms, and it's got like a skull head with fangs. But that is not what the Gambo is. It's not a ghost or undead. It's wonderful. These extraordinary looking creatures are man-sized, with a powerful human torso and 2 arms ending in very sharp claws. Supported on the thin but very strong neck is the creature's head, which is a skull, usually of an animal, but sometimes of primitive man. Newer appearances of this monster, I think, well, there's only one. It was republished like one more time, and it was specified then that the Gambo is like it's like a hermit crab. It collects a skull and sticks the skull onto its neck, which is like it's headless. It doesn't have a head. It has like flaps around a neck hole, and it just wears a skull, which is great. In fact, let me pull up. There's just one newer illustration of the Gambo. Oh wait, no, actually there's a couple. There's a couple of illustrations of the Gambo. But let me find like the good one here a second. Give me a second here. There we go. There's the newer Gambo. Let me center it nicely for you. I loved this drawing when I was a kid. This like big like cow skull on top of this weird like one-legged fleshy thing. Let's see, the lower part of the creature's body consists of a cylinder of muscle and skin, which can be compressed spring-style and released, below which are 3 long and thin single-toed feet. Its manner of locomotion, since it lacks legs as such, is a series of springs. If jumping vertically, it can just reach a 14-foot-high ceiling with its head, and when moving horizontally, it has speed equivalent to a 12... Yeah, so it jumps around like a pogo stick. A Gambo's normal form of attack is to stand upright in its lair, which is a pit some 6 feet deep, with its head just at ground level. By shoring up the sides of the pit, it can create a cover of rock, wood, rags, and old bones, so that to an approaching adventurer the pit is hidden and only the skull is seen, apparently simply lying on the ground. If a creature comes within towards the edges of the pit, it will spring out and attack, in the first instance with bite, thereafter with bite and its claws. So it pretends to be a skull on the ground, and then it jumps out on its pogo stick leg. If a Gambo kills a victim, it will ignore all booty except coins, gems, and small pieces of jewelry. These are taken into the pit and stored either on the pit floor or hidden in a cache hole, packed tightly with earth. Though essentially solitary creatures, a Gambo will often dig its pit nearby those of others of its kind. In places where bones are common, as many as 8 of the creatures may be found to have dug pits quite close together, though they do not appear to actually communicate with each other. Garbug. The Garbug is depicted as a lobster with fly wings and like a needle nose, a long proboscis. Both types of Garbug resemble wasp-bodied lobsters. It is not wasp-bodied in this drawing. They can fly in rather a cumbersome manner on flimsy wings, but their more normal means of locomotion is on their 6 legs. Now, this illustration gives them 6 legs and 2 claws. They have 6 tentacles surrounding their mouths, which flail at prey. Each is 2 feet long and exudes a paralyzing secretion. In melee, each type will attack with its tentacles as well as its specialist weapon. The tentacles only have the paralyzing effect. They do not inflict hit points of damage. The black garbug is a uniform glossy black. It has, in addition to its tentacles, a proboscis, which it uses to strike at a victim within a 5-foot range. If a hit is scored, the victim suffers 1 to 4 hit points of damage. The violet garbug differs from its black cousin in that it has no proboscis. Instead, in addition to the tentacles, it attacks with 2 large pinchers. The illustration shows one with both the proboscis and the pinchers. The illustration fails on many levels to depict what is being described. In newer books, I know the garbug is also like a carrion-eating thing, kind of related to the carrion crawler. And now we're on giants. And giants, I feel like I don't really need to read. It's just, okay, there's 2 giants. There's the fog giant and the mountain giant. Fog giants live in foggy places. They're big men who like the fog. Mountain giants are big men who like live in the mountains. Okay, now we're on the giant strider. We saw this earlier being ridden by a fire newt. And the giant strider is it's like a warty naked emu, kind of like a dinosaur with no forearms. It has this very sad face. Like the upper jaw looks more like a big like human nose with like pitiful eyes. These large flightless featherless birds appear as heavy ostriches. Besides each of their 2 dully glowing red eyes is a small duct from which the beast can project a small fireball. So it's like they cry fireballs at you. And they like to wade around in lava and stand in flames. Gibberlings are little nasty hairy guys. Pale, hunched, naked humanoids with short legs and long arms. They attack in great numbers, uttering ghastly howls and insane chattering noises, which cause even the boldest hirelings to check morale each round. And that's all, really. They're just little nasty guys. And now we're on the Githyanki, the cover monster of this book. I haven't played Baldur's Gate or seen it played up to where there are Githyanki, and I haven't read their newer entries, so I don't know how much of this lore is still relevant or not. I think most of it is. Millennia ago, the Mind Flayers conquered a race of evil humans and bound them to service, usually employing them as slaves, but from time to time selecting particularly choice victims for food. The humans harbored deep resentment for centuries, but could not summon up sufficient strength to free themselves from the Mind Flayer yoke. Gradually, in secret, they developed their powers and strength. Then, under the leadership of the supreme leader Gith, they rebelled against their captors, and, after a long and vicious struggle, succeeded in gaining their autonomy. From that moment, the race became known as the Githyanki, and they quickly gained a reputation as powerful psionists and deadly fighters with an instinct for violence. The Githyanki now dwell in the astral plane, but from time to time project themselves to the prime material plane, an innate ability now common to all members of the race. Set up temporary refuges underground, usually using these as bases from which they mount raids on humans and mind flayers alike. If Githyanki encounter humans and mind flayers simultaneously, they will destroy the mind flayers first, and may appear to be cooperating with the humans. But as soon as the mind flayers are killed, the Githyanki will turn on the humans and attempt to destroy them too. I like that coincidentally, as I read that, the music I've been playing turned scarier. The Githyanki worship a Lich Queen, said to have powers at the 24th level of magic use, or even higher. They dwell in huge castles on the astral plane, each being ruled by a supreme leader. They use armor and weapons as men do. That's a strange statement considering they are descended from humans. I mean, they are like they're removed enough from humans that they look like weird, like skeleton men in this. They're pretty cool, though. Yeah, this is one of the coolest human-like or human-adjacent races they ever added. Just people, like, warped by a much more alien monster, and they just kind of live... They just kind of live their lives out of, like, a whole culture of vengeance against their creators. And they all have the Jimmy Neutron hair. This also says they have a pact with a group of red dragons, which in return for shelter, food, and treasure assist the Githyanki when on the prime material plane by acting as steeds. Do they still ride dragons? And Githzerai is the next one. They are like... I forget how they're related. I guess it'll say. The Githzerai are a race of inhabitants of Limbo, coexisting with the Sladai. Those are later in this book as well. Roaming the prime material plane like the Githyanki, and constantly at war with the latter race. The Githyanki-Githzerai warfare is curious, since they are both offshoots of the original race released from Mind Flayer bondage, under the leadership of Gith. Yet the war is vicious and long-enduring. Githzerai are generally slightly weaker than Githyanki, but their magic resistance appears to compensate, and neither side holds supremacy for long over the other. They're not as interesting at all. They just look like guys. Oh, but they have an uneasy truce with the Mind Flayers. So they are not... You gotta trust these even less than the Githyanki. They're sellouts. Goldbug. This does not have an illustration, but it's a beetle with a flattened circular body and a golden shell, the size and shape of a gold piece. Okay, so it's just a fake little gold coin beetle with a venomous bite. Oh, the Gorble! I love the Gorble. The Gorble is like a doughy flesh ball, and it's got two stumpy little arms with little claws, and its mouth is just kind of like someone like mushed their thumb into a ball of Play-Doh, and it has these three silly eyeballs on little stalks. And this man here, he's having a great day. A curious creature, the Gorbel appears as a red globe of thin, rubbery material about 3 feet in diameter. With a tiny mouth, 6 tiny eyes on short retractable stalks equally spaced around the upper hemisphere, and 2 clawed legs, which it uses to move at remarkable speed. Sabletooth in the chat says, this guy looks like he says Gorbel, and that's why it's named Gorbel. And I 100% agree with that evaluation. This thing only says Gorbel, like a Pokemon. Actually, kind of reminds me of Meatwad. This reminds me of that Gorbel. When attacking, which it usually does, I like that in parentheses. When attacking, which it usually does, it attempts to attach itself to its victim's back with its claws. A successful initial hit means it has done so. It cannot be detached until dead and automatically hits its victim each round. It just it grabs onto you horribly and doesn't let go. A hit with a blunt weapon will not harm the Gorbel, but a hit with a pointed or edged weapon causes it to burst asunder, killing it and doing 1 to 4 hit points of blast damage to anyone. It's a balloon. It's a balloon that just claws onto your back, and the only way to get it off usually makes it explode. This says they are mischievous, fickle, and irritable creatures. I recall 3rd edition made the Gorbel related to beholders. I don't think that's really necessary. I think we can have multiple balls with eyes. I could see it being distantly related though, from the same planet in principle. Gorilla bear. This is a gorilla with sharp teeth and claws. These monsters have the head, body, and legs of a gorilla with the sharp teeth and powerful arms of a bear. Is that like a worse gorilla or a worse bear? Or is that a better gorilla or a better bear? I feel like there's not really a point to mashing these particular animals together. They have the aggressive disposition of a grizzly bear and the carnivorous tendencies of the cave bear. And that's it, basically. Grell. This is another classic. The Grell is a big bubbly, gooey brain with a cute little bird beak and a bunch of tentacles. The appearance of this dreadful creature is fearsome indeed. A body like a giant exposed brain, approximately 5 feet in diameter, and with a frontal beak, below which trail 10 6-foot tentacles. The beast flies by a levitation process, small inflections of the tentacles controlling horizontal movement. Grell are usually found underground and are occasionally seen in ruined or abandoned buildings. They are particularly dangerous and vicious, dropping on their victims from above whenever circumstances permit. And there's this great big full-page illustration of the Grell attacking this guy. This guy having a very bad day. It's a beautiful drawing. I like the little tinier fringe of tentacles, too. They don't go into really any lore here, though. They just tell you how it attacks you with its tentacles. In newer materials, the Grell are they're like a race. They're like an alien race. They're super intelligent. They're kind of rivals, I think, with the Mind Flayers. You'd think that would have to do with them looking like big brains, but that does not really, if I recall correctly, that doesn't totally factor into their lore. They aren't literally big brains, they just kind of look like it. I could be wrong. Since then they might have decided the Grell is actually a big brain.
I think I remember that sort of males and females, they're all males and hermaphrodites, and not a lot of animals that's true with. The only ones I can think of are a type of nematodes commonly experimented on.
No, Rev was just telling me in some books the Grell, they're all simultaneous hermaphrodites in newer books in a way that
No, some are. Some are males.
Some are hermaphrodites and some are males. And the only thing we really know of like that is a nematode. Grimlock are just another scary man race. Fierce subterranean humanoid warriors. Their eyes are blank and sightless. They're like blind cavemen. Finally, a subterranean creature in this setting that lost its vision. And then we have the Gryph. I really like the Gryph. The illustration is like a black bird with 4 legs and a perfectly straight, like, needle spike for a beak. It's very eerie. A very, very ominous illustration. Its biology matches, too. The Gryph is a bird with multiple legs, but specimens with 6 or 8, even 8 have been seen. It approximates the size of an eagle and has a razor-sharp beak with powerful jaws. If 3 or more of these birds are encountered, one will be female, and there is a 35% chance that she will be ready to lay her eggs. If such a female Gryph attacks, it will attempt to grapple its victim with its legs, and if a hit is scored, it will inject its small eggs into the bloodstream. So we have another parasitoid of humans in this, but this one's is a bird. A bird with eggs tiny enough to go into your bloodstream. That's so alarming. The eggs are injected through a thin tube which projects from the bird's abdomen. It even has an ovipositor. If these eggs remain alive, they will hatch in 1 to 3 days, killing the victim immediately and releasing 1 to 4 baby Gryphs. Guardian Daemon. And they're just kind of like a devil coming out of a little egg. These demons vary in size and form. They can just look like other demons, but they can also look like large bears and wild cats. They're just demons used as guardians, like you'd think. But then there's the Guardian Familiar, and this is just a kitty. This is a kitty cat. It takes the form of a small black cat set to guard the treasure of a high-level wizard. It will never leave its position on top of the treasure or chest, nor does it attack unless it is itself attacked. During its attack, a creature grows progressively larger, eventually resembling a bobcat. This is a kitty cat that stays on top of your box of stuff, and it gets bigger. Oh, it literally has 9 lives. And is the creature upon which the traditional cat with 9 lives legend is built. It's instantaneously reborn every time it's slain, and stronger than before. This is a perfect cat. It's like the most well-behaved cat. It can get bigger. Now there's another kitty cat. Right after it is the hellcat. You know, the little kitty cat. Hellcats are the associates and familiars of devils, and as such can usually be found upon their native levels of hell. Invisible in the presence of any light source, but in darkness it can be seen as a faintly glowing, wraith-like outline with blazing crimson eyes, its form resembling a domestic cat the size of a tiger. Another big kitty cat. It seeks out evil characters and to serve. So thus far in this book, if you're evil, you get a hellcat and you get little frogmen. The hellcat does demand one living human victim per week as its meal. The next monster is the Hoar Fox. Hoar, which means like a type of frost. That's all it really is, though. It's just like a cold fox. It's a fox that likes the cold.
Sure.
It's the Hoar Fox. Hook horror. There's another good classic. Usually portrayed more kind of like insect-like in newer stuff. In this first illustration, it's like a big buff, like an eagle man. It has kind of like a bald eagle head on a armored man body with little hook arms. Large, powerful bipeds, hook horrors have vulture-like heads and a hard-plated exoskeleton which is mottled gray in color. They inhabit deep underground corridors and chambers. Though their vision is very poor, their hearing is extremely acute, and there is only a 10% chance of surprising a hook horror. The creature's arms end in sharp hook-like talons which it uses in melee. A hook horror cannot speak, but communicates with others of its kind by making clacking noises with the exoskeleton, an eerie sound which can alarm the unwary as it echoes around dungeon corridors. And that's all they have to say about the hook horror. Giant hornet. That sure is a giant hornet, all right. Well, no, actually, that's more of a paper wasp. It's got more of a separated abdomen, and it's got a littler head. That's not a hornet. Hound of Ill Omen. He's a spooky dog. One of the legendary beasts whose appearance traditionally portends death. Well, if you see it, you die. It is said that the hound only appears if a character has seriously offended his deity, for example, by a flagrant act out of alignment. Hukuva, or however you pronounce that, is yet another skeleton guy by the same person who's drawn almost every skeleton guy in this book. An undead spirit similar in appearance to a robed skeleton. Its touch causes an acute cardiovascular renal disease. And that's all it has to say, actually. Ice lizard is a neat little wrinkly dragon thing. The ice lizard appears as a small winged lizard, though it can polymorph self twice a day. Oh, into the form of a white dragon. So are we seeing, like, how it normally looks? Because this isn't what the white dragon looks like. But this says it just looks like a winged lizard, and this is a little more dragony than lizardy. Maybe it's like in between transformation here. That's it basically. It's a little tiny like fake dragon They can turn into a full-size dragon like twice a day. Morph. This does not have any illustration. The natural form of this beast is a gray-green lumpy cylinder. Now this is another another gooey cylinder shape changer. A short single leg trails behind the main body and has a suction cup like that of a snail. Other similar suction cups under the main body permit the beast a jerky mode of locomotion. 2 5-foot tentacles emerge from the top, but there are no apparent eyes, ears, or other features. Indeed, the whole creature is a constantly changing mass of rubbery, dough-like substance, the same color as bilious human flesh. Why didn't they illustrate it? They illustrated things that are so much more boring and plain so far. When engaged in melee, it exhibits a startling power of imorphism. At the beginning of each round, it changes its hit dice and armor class by 1 each towards the values of its opponent. So it slowly evolves to deal with whatever's happening to it in a battle. They will grow various appendages to copy its opponent's weapons and limbs. When an Imorph is exactly the same shape as its opponent, has the same hit dice and the same armor class, it changes to the appropriate attack matrix for its hit probability. Within the creature's body is a small organ corresponding to the human liver, made of a rubbery green substance. Within the organ is a liquid of similar color which, when mixed with water in equal quantity, serves as a potion of polymorph self. Iron Cobra is a metal snake. And there's another illustration of the Iron Cobra, and there's a guy pointing. He's go my Iron Cobra kind of thing. The invention of some great magic user or minor deity. This segmented automaton is made of an unknown metal and shaped in imitation of a snake. It is believed that there are only about a dozen or so of these creatures in existence, and they are quite valuable. High-level magic users rate their value at 2,000 gold if deactivated and the control words are known. Imagine spending that much on an Iron Cobra and they didn't give you the password. Or forgetting the password. That would suck. Activated and deactivated by keywords set by its creator. When activated, it can obey simple verbal commands. When immobile, it is absolutely silent, but when moving, emits a soft rustling, not unlike that made by a normal snake. Jakuli is the next monster, and that is another snake. It's a snake with a pretty cool looking, more lizard-like head, with little spines, a frill of spines along each side of its skull. Actually, it kind of almost looks like its teeth continue outside of its mouth and down its neck. The Jakuli are agile serpents with chameleon-like camouflage abilities. They are usually found in woods and forests, for they are basically arboreal in nature and feed on tree mosses and insects. No, they're not even just like predators. They eat little bugs and moss. I mean, they're predators of bugs, but they also eat moss. Some swarms have adapted their habitat to pillared halls and the like. Although not naturally vicious, Jakuli swarms are highly territorial and excitable, resenting more than a transient intrusion into what they regard as their territory. Because of their camouflage abilities, it is unlikely they will be seen before attack. They keep calling them a swarm, but they're 12 feet long. Has a broad, flat head with a ridge of razor-edged bone projecting at either side. It can project itself from any high point with the force and accuracy of a javelin, surprising its victims unless previously detected. And so they're camouflaged, omnivorous snakes that really just want to be left alone, but they can impale you with their heads. Germlane, or jinxkins, tiny little goblin guys, little mouse-sized goblin guys, sometimes known as bane midges, dwell in elaborate tunnel and den warrens beneath the ground. As they mix freely with rats of all sorts, even the giant variety, they are often found in company with such rodents and are 50% likely to be sharing an integrated system of burrows, tunnels, and holes. They're just little tiny little goblin guys that like rats. It says, these evil runts are cowardly and will attack only when it seems probable that they can overwhelm victims without serious opposition. Leave them alone. They're little. These evil runts are cowardly. I mean, they're like 2 inches tall. They're probably scared to death of everybody. Has anyone ever tried, just talking to them? I love this. I love this illustration. Look at this guy's face. I bet he was mean to them. I bet he deserves this. He's just absolutely miserable. And the little tiny guys are just clubbing him to death with their little tiny clubs. Oh no. They have a lot of lore. They have a whole long page. But it's all really just about them being little guys. Oh no. It says, they look as if they are diminutive humans wearing baggy clothing and ill-fitting leather helmets. Closer inspection will show that the baggy garments are actually the creature's lumpy and many-folded skins, while the helmets are in reality the pointed and evilly visaged heads, all leathery and smooth. The limbs of these creatures are knotty and bowed, with hands and feet tipped with thick nails. That doesn't come across in the illustration at all. It just looks like they're naked with little loincloths.
Yeah, they gave up.
Yeah, apparently they have baggy hanging skin like one of those saggy dogs, I guess. Again, leave them alone. They suffer enough by existing. Kamadan is a leopard with 4 to 7 snakes sprouting from its shoulders. A relative of the displacer beast. What does it do? It breathes a cone of sleep. And that's it. That's all it says. It's related to the displacer beast, but it's not as good. Next, there's the Kelpie. I remember this illustration. This portrays the Kelpie as a naked lady made of goo, made of algae. I'm pretty sure that does, in mythology they could look like human form. It's way more famous and popular now to think of them as just in a horse form. Kelpies are a form of intelligent aquatic plant life that in their own shape resemble a pile of wet seaweed. They're able to shape their bodies into any form they choose, and will often assume the aspect of a beautiful human woman in order to lure men into deep waters. They've also been known to take the shape of a horse. However, though the form may be changed, the substance still resembles green seaweed, and the effect is somewhat grotesque. I disagree. I think this Kelpie is very pretty, and she's also doing a good job. Oh, I never noticed in the illustration, she's drowning this guy, and then there's a lady is diving in after him to save him with a dagger. Yeah, they have like just what you expect. They have charm. They charm you. They seduce you, and then they drown you to death, just like the mythology. It says for some reason females are immune to the spell of the Kelpie. What about lesbians? I guess it's just some kind of weird magic thing. Created by the sea god as punishment for men who are rash enough to sail the oceans without paying their lord his proper respect. Women were not involved in these transgressions, and thus did not incur the sea lord's ill will. Oh, others say that Ol Hydra, the elemental princess of evil water creatures, created the Kelpies and rendered females immune in proper regard for her own gender. So the evil water we saw earlier is also like evil. She's evil water, but she's also very feminist. Kenku is another bird person. Is a little grumpy hawk person. Bipedal humanoid birds with wings, clawed hands, and feet. The head of a hawk and a sharp beak. Mischievous creatures who habitually use their limited magical powers to annoy and inconvenience humans, though their intent is not usually to kill. Let's see, they can shape change once every 30 days. After 7 days in the changed shape, they must resume normal form. Particularly adventurous Kenku have been known to use this power to assume the form of a god and accept offerings from credulous worshippers, and this is but one example of the bizarre uses to which Kenku, and particularly the younger of the species, have put this power. So they're bird people with like unruly teens who love to prank humans. This also says they favor kidnapping as a source of funds. They will also freely give treasure, but this is rarely genuine and will crumble to a valueless dust within a day. So the thing that like Tanuki do. Were they thinking of Tengu? Kenku. Kargra. I love these things. They're like cylinder shaped, covered in scales, and they have like little shark fins and little claw things and really cute little eyes on top, little froggy eyes, and then they just have like a big circle mouth with teeth. Creatures from the elemental plane of Earth, the Kargra occasionally venture onto the prime material plane in search of high-grade ores which they digest and use as food. They swim along the layers of rock in small schools, riding on Earth movements and the shifting of geological strata as if swimming or surfing in the sea. When they find a suitable vein of ore, they settle down to feed and ingest the material, grinding it up and, through their curious metabolic and digestive processes, actually separating out and refining the metal. The slaggy waste material is excreted, and the metal is deposited in the Kargra's internal reservoirs, there to be assimilated slowly into the body. Kargra consider armor and weaponry a tasty meal indeed, and are particularly fond of eating metallic treasure. They can leap from the wall or floor of a cavern like fish leaping from water. They then attempt to fasten themselves with their clawed arms onto large metallic objects, which they will devour. How big are they? Oh, they're like 3 inches long. They're little tiny things. I always thought they were bigger, like You know, there's like little cute little swarming metal eating little tube fish. Oh, their arms can I think their arms can like shoot out like little grappling hooks. Kilmolus is a little spindly gremlin thing with a cute little trunk instead of a mouth. Kilmolus always dwell where some industry is in progress, preferably one involving grain or other foodstuffs. They inhabit the areas under floors, in cracks in walls, or amidst the dark rafters, only coming out when the human workers leave. Brownie-like, the Kilmolus then work and otherwise make themselves useful, at the same time devouring prodigious amounts of meal, flour, grain, or whatever other foodstuffs are available. It is also an integral part of their nature to play tricks and practical jokes, certain to be destructive or harmful if the inhabitants of the place molest any of the Kilmolus, but otherwise of merely bothersome or irksome nature, without undue destruction. Yeah, there are a lot of little like gremlins and fairies and goblins in this book. Quotoa, that's another one that is still pretty common in the game. They're just fish people. The ancient Quotoa people once inhabited the shores and islands of the upper world, but as the race of mankind and its associate species grew more and more numerous and more powerful, the menfish were slowly driven to remote regions. Continual warfare upon these evil, human-sacrificing creatures threatened to exterminate the species, for a number of powerful beings were aiding their sworn enemies, mankind. Yeah, just like evil fish people. There's like a whole story here, and apparently goggler is a derisive term for fish people. Okay, so this says that like humans tried to like genocide them. I feel like they're not evil. I feel like this was written by humans. They have a lot of lore. Oh, their little babies are called fingerlings. I guess their babies come out looking like just little fish. Lamia noble. This is a naked snake lady. These beings have rule over other Lamias and the wild, lonely areas they inhabit. They differ from the normal Lamia in that the Lamia noble's lower body is that of a giant serpent, and the upper body can be either male or female. And the regular Lamia had like a lion body and bird wings. The males wield swords and the females wield magic. Lamia nobles are given to outbursts of senseless violence. This illustration on the next page is pretty cool with these like rocky looking lizard guys. This is a very silly looking tower though. This big like I mean, I know exactly what this looks like. This big fat skull on top of the pillar. It's like the most phallic skull you could have ever possibly put atop a pillar. Lava children. These are creepy. These weirded me out when I was a kid reading this book. It's like a big hulking muscular humanoid with like little nasty little claw hands, but then it has like a little boy head, like actually he looks like the Mad Magazine mascot. I never remember his name. Exactly like him. Oh, isn't it like Alfred E. Newman? These humanoids are the same size as a broadly built man. However, they have a curious childlike appearance, with pinkish white skin and a permanent smile on their faces. Ugh. They are the unnatural offspring of a union between spirits of earth and fire. They are peculiarly immune to metal. Metal simply does not exist for lava children. Thus, any metal object can pass through them without harming them, and they can move through metal without hindrance. Any metal worn by a victim of their attack is ignored. There's this big, horrible child face people, and like metal does not, metal can't touch them. What a weird idea. And then there's this illustration of them messing with these lizard people. Ghastly looking things. And that's the Lizard King, is just kind of a souped up lizard man. Souped up lizard man with a kind of more humanoid face. Magnesium spirit. I don't remember that existing at all in this book. It has no illustration. It is believed that only 3 or 4 of these creatures exist. Summoned by an evil magic user. Their behavior is completely dominated by their need to inhabit the body of a character of 5th or higher level in order to perform the complex spellcasting ritual which will return them to their place of origin. Resembles a cylinder of white flame. It's just a spirit that wants to go home. It does, like, suck your energy and kill you to do it. Mantari. This was another of my favorites when I was a kid. Just this cute little doughy-looking flying stingray thing with a little sting on the end of its tail and a very sad face. How sad that thing is. It's neutral evil, though with animal intelligence. How are there so many things in this setting that they're just animals, but they're evil animals? Bears a close resemblance to the marine ray, with a flat body about 3 feet long and a 4-foot-long thin whip-like tail. The Mantari usually preys on giant rats and the like for food, but it is normally aggressive when encountering other creatures and humans. It flies with its tail held vertically downwards, but when attacking, dives onto its victim. The tail assumes a forward-pointing acute angle with the body. Strikes solely by whipping a victim with its tail. The sting in the tip is not poisonous, but acts on the victim's nervous system. So it's poisonous. I guess maybe it's like some magic thing. I don't know. every time it hits you with its tail, it does like multiple the damage of the last time. That's pretty bad. The measle is another little nasty man. Solitary bipeds just less than man-sized. Measles are rarely encountered outside their lairs. With natural thieving abilities. There's so many little, like, not quite goblins in this book that, like, they aren't really necessary. They're very redundant. Now, this lets you know that almost all measles have a skin disease that gives them like red rashes, but it is neither harmful to the creature beyond its disfiguring effect, nor contagious. Yeah, so there's no point to them having the skin disease gameplay wise. It's just kind of just a fact. They all have rashes. And then there's the Meanlock. I really like Meanlocks. They've continued to appear in the game. They're always like little like spiny, fuzzy, humanoid kind of buggish beings. They kind of look like lice, like louse people. Very cute. Meanlocks are small bipedal creatures about 2 feet tall and covered in black shaggy fur. They present a horrid appearance and will cause fear in any person with 4 or fewer hit dice, thus causing the victim to fall inert to the ground for 5 to 8 rounds. Like, is that a magical effect, or is... When the game says things like this, is that a supernatural ability? Or is it just asserting that if you are that weak, you are going to be affected that way because you're a wimp? Like, no matter who you are, you're going to be scared of this little buggy man. Because I wouldn't. I see this, I just want to know more. The Meanlocks have their lair in dark, sealed, vertical shafts underground. If the seal is removed, the bottom of the shaft cannot be seen, and anything dropped in will land noiselessly on a thick moss carpet, which lines the walls and floor of the shaft. The shaft will be dark, and a smell of rotting corpses will drift upwards. Characters other than the most insensitive will also detect a strong emanation of evil, even without the use of a detect evil spell. If brave adventurers penetrate the shaft, they will eventually find the Meanlock lair. The creature will use considerable ingenuity to extinguish sources of light. They have a limited dimension door ability. If adventurers remove the seal from the top of the shaft, but subsequently fail to penetrate the Meanlock's lair, the creatures will take fullest advantage. When the adventurers depart, they will be followed at a safe distance by the nasty little beasts, which can climb quickly and noiselessly up the shaft by using the deadening qualities of the moss carpet. One of the adventurers will be marked by the Meanlocks, selected at random, though if a paladin is present, he will be given priority, and the Meanlocks will concentrate their subsequent attacks on him alone, being highly evil and greatly desirous of wreaking vengeance on humankind. The victim selected will always be human if one is present, but if not, the creatures will choose an elf, dwarf, or any other near-human. From the time of this marking onwards, the chosen victim will receive disturbing telepathic messages. The Meanlocks can communicate telepathically over a 300-foot range. The messages will vary in content, but the threat will be the same, that the Meanlocks are pursuing the victim relentlessly and intend to make him one of them. The victim will also be conscious of stealthy movements in the shadows and of rustling, scratching noises. Companions of the victim will hear and detect nothing and may conclude that their colleague is mentally aberrant. Really, like, in a magical world, that's so annoying. Like, when people know that there are demons and ghosts and spirits in their reality, and they're still like, no, you're imagining something, you're crazy. And what was the movie that inspired these? These are inspired by a movie. It's a favorite of mine, but I suddenly can't remember the. Oh, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. That was it. There's a Guillermo del Toro remake of that, but there's also an older version. Yeah, this is just exactly what happens in that movie. You unseal their lair, and they come for you, and they take you away, and you become one of them. The Meanlocks will not attack until the party beds down to rest. However, until that time, the victim will become increasingly preoccupied with his predicament and will be able to concentrate less and less upon his adventure. His efficiency will thus be reduced, though the extent and effect of this will vary and is to be determined by the referee. Referee? Is that what they were calling DMs back then? Huh. If they succeed in dragging their victim away, they will take the victim to their shaft, sealing it after entry. After a short but gruesome treatment, the victim himself becomes a Meanlock. Mephit. Mephits are little elemental imp things. Not that exciting. I do like how nasty the water one looks. Is that the water one? Oh no, it's the lava method. The lava method is all like bubbly and drippy. Mezzademon. This is a pretty neat, like, demon with an exoskeleton and kind of like a bird beak. I like the little, like, the mandibles as horns on top. Mezzademons inhabit the lower planes between the abyssal layers and the hells. Not much to them otherwise. They don't really have any, like, really special, unique abilities or anything. Just buggy-looking demons that use a lot of spells and magic items. Might is another little tiny little gremlin goblin guy. Yet another. They'll bite you. They like to they like to capture you, rob you, strip you, tie you up, and beat you. Which is pretty funny. Oh, then they dump you. So they return you helpless to the main corridor at the mercy of wandering monsters. They just, like, leave you to die in a ditch. Necrophidius, Deathworm. This is a human skull on a bone snake spinal cord. Totally silent. Totally silent and hypnotic. To make one, you need the skull of a cold-blooded murderer killed within the previous 24 hours. Not considered undead. It's a construct. And then there's the Needle Man. Needle Man is a skinny, bony, mostly naked man covered in little needles like a cactus. Which, this wood-dwelling, intelligent form of plant life looks like a zombie, but in fact is neither animal nor of the undead class. This is another, like the algae guy from earlier, is a plant that looks like a guy, although this one looks like a rotten dead guy. And we also had the thing that looks like a mummy, but is actually a sticky man. So you got like a mummy that's really a sticky man, and a zombie that's really a cactus. Needlemen appear to hate elves and will attack them on sight. They're neutral, though. They're not evil. They're neutral, zombie-shaped cactuses that shoot needles, and they hate elves. Nilbog. This creature looks exactly like a normal goblin and has all the characteristics of that race, with one important exception. It suffers from a curious spatio-temporal reversal. It remains a mystery why only goblins are susceptible to this strange disorder. Nilbogism appears to occur when overly heavy use of magic strains the space-time continuum. So it's not only, the name is not only goblin backwards, but it is a backwards goblin. What does that mean? Let's see. They cause opposite things to happen. Adventurers will have no control over their own actions and pursue courses of action contrary to their normal intent. For example, they may feel an overwhelming compulsion to load all of their treasure into an empty treasure chest to the Nilbog lair and leave empty-handed. So it's a backwards goblin, and around the backwards goblin you do opposite day. The Nonafel, or Cat o' Nine Tails, is another monster kitty cat. Appears to be a large black panther. Displays an unusual dissociative power which enables it to divide into 9 individual black panthers. This is a silly one, because like you could just have your players encounter 9 panthers, or you could have them encounter like 1 panther that turns into 9 panthers. Oh, I see. When it reclaims its copy as it regenerates. Norker is the next monster. Another goblin man, but he's got a really funny drawing. Very sad little face. The Norker. Related to hobgoblins, except that they have fangs. The Norker has a very tough skin, a form of exoskeleton. In all other respects, they are similar to hobgoblins. What's the point? They're hobgoblins with tougher skin and fangs. Nycademon. This is just like another like devil dragon man guy. Among the most powerful of the creatures native to the middle lower plains. Not much to it, just a bunch of devil stuff. Ogrillon. A smaller ogre, being an orc-ogre crossbreed. Osquip. This is a good one. It's like a little fat naked rat thing with an extra set of limbs, and it has this like awful looking dog heads, kinda, with all these little teeth, like lipless rat jaws. A multi-legged, hairless, rodent-like creature the size of a small dog. Most specimens have 6 legs, but some have 8, and there are a few with 10. Its hide is a very light yellow, almost colorless, and resembles very pliable leather. The eyes are small and set close together, each being heavily protected by surrounding ridges of hide-covered bone. The jaws are unusually large, the entire bony structure projecting several inches forward of the flesh. They lair in complex tunnels beneath the basements of buildings or in dungeons. The creature feeds on rats, mice, and other small vermin, though it is a ferocious beast and will always attack without fear, sometimes emerging to surprise a victim from one of the hidden entrances to its tunnel system. By using its powerful jaws, it can burrow through rock. Its behavior regarding other tunnel-dwelling creatures, such as germane, mites, and snaiads, is unpredictable. Sometimes it will be encountered acting in cooperation with one or more of these types of creature. At other time, the Osquip will invade germane, mite, or snaiad tunnel systems on predatory missions. So they're just like little rat dogs. I love their awful faces. Penangalan. This is actually where I learned what a penangalan is. And I was deeply disturbed by it at the time when I was like 10 years old. I didn't really learn till later that it was directly from folklore. But yeah, it's depicted here as just like a woman's head with a clump of guts. A female vampire-type undead of fearsome power and nauseating appearance. This vile creature appears during the day as an attractive human female who may be of any character class. This is the female human which the Penangalan was before death. She will fight with the same combat abilities as she had when alive, will have spell use if formerly a spellcaster, so on and so forth. Yeah, a lot of you probably know what a Penangalan is by now. Of course, this does not mention the original folklore. The originally Penangalan in Malaysia, they feed on unborn babies. They just like suck them right out. I guess they couldn't say that in Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, this does say particularly fond of the blood of young children or of pregnant females. So it's implied, I guess. I like this art of the bonus art of a Penangalan attack. This guy isn't even looking at her though. Like there's a Penangalan like latching onto him and killing him, and he's looking at the viewer, as she is too. They're both looking at us. I just think that's just something like funny about that. He's like begging you for help. Pernicorn. I love this drawing. I used to try and recreate this drawing back then of just this cute grasshopper sitting up on its haunches. It's very, very detailed and realistic, except for the little claw hands and like the leg placement. A brightly colored insect rather like a grasshopper. Red, yellow, ochre, and light blue. Prized by nomads of its regions because the antennae are water diviners, vibrating and giving off a low hum within range of a large quantity of water. Usually inoffensive, but will attack in large numbers if disturbed, accidentally or otherwise. It leaps on its victims and grips exposed flesh with the pincers at the rear of its abdomen. If it hits, it will inflict 1 to 3 hit points of damage and will also drain water and other bodily fluids from the victim, causing the loss of 1 point of constitution each round. So it's just like a blood-sucking grasshopper with earwig pinchers. Phantom Stalker. It's like a weird-looking, wrinkly naked guy with big eyes, big eyeballs, and like a weird, like walnut-shaped head. Creatures from the elemental plane of fire. I wouldn't have guessed from the design and name that this was a fire guy. Just kind of like a shape-shifting fire guy. Poltergeist. We know what a poltergeist is, and we know why it has no illustration. But neither does the next monster, the protein polymorph. Intelligent cellular colonies with the ability to assume any form they choose. Inanimate objects or animate creatures. It's just a different mimic. The form assumed may actually be that of several forms, connected by a near-invisible cord or film of protoplasm. They may imitate anything from a pile of treasure to a small-sized room to a party of half a dozen humans or a dozen kobolds. They will, in general, assume any form likely to draw prey, for they feed on humans and animals with little regard for type and size. So yeah, this is just a different mimic. Quaggoth. Quaggoth's just like a Wookiee. No, it's like a Wookiee and an Ewok. It's got like little Ewok ears. They're just like cannibal Ewoks. So Ewoks are already cannibals in Star Wars lore. For real. Maybe pre-Disney Star Wars lore, but I distinctly remember in expanded universe books, Ewoks had like dark sacrifice rituals and stuff. Quipper is a little fish with sharp teeth, a rare species of cold water piranha. So that's it then. Quillen is just a guy covered in tattoos. Large, strong, seemingly insane humanoids who wear war paint in a wild variety of clashing colors and sport their battle scars proudly. This is just a guy. This is just a cool guy. Oh, except they radiate confusion. Retriever is a big, hulking, like, crabby spider monster constructed by Demogorgon in his laboratories in the Abyss. I didn't remember that. I didn't remember that Demogorgon is like a mad scientist. Giant spider-like creatures whose front four limbs end in cleavers. Approximately the size of a mammoth. They are very fast and nimble wherever they have room to maneuver. And they just have a bunch of magical powers and stuff. Revenant is just a dead guy. A dead guy who can be, like, pulled apart and all his limbs keep trying to, kill you. Rothae are little oxes that live underground. And they eat lichen and moss. A little subterranean ox. That's really cute. Sandman is just a man of sand. Yeah, like the illustration is just a guy made out of sand. Well, it can put you to sleep, like the Sandman. Scarecrow, which is a scarecrow with a pumpkin head. Enchanted versions of regular scarecrows. Always evil and of malign intent. I don't think that's fair. The Scarecrow has a charm ability that is one of fascination rather than obeyance or instruction. The victim will stand and gape, rooted to the spot, as if under the influence of a hold person spell. Screaming Devilkin is a little baby devil, little devil baby with wings. Has a painful howling scream, which it sets up continuously in the presence of other beings. Nothing can stop this screaming other than the slaying of the beast, or magically induced silence. Conversation, even shouting, is inaudible through it. This is a little flying baby, and it just screams too loud. And that's its power. Shadow Demon is definitely a shadow shaped like a demon. Creatures of dark evil from the lower planes. Sheet Ghoul and Sheet Phantom. I really liked these as a kid. I thought they were very, very interesting undead. Sheet Phantom actually looks like just like a sheet with ghosty eyes and a mouth on it. But it's not like a spirit. It's not like intangible like a ghost. It's just this greatly feared undead creature is a form of wraith, but it is unusual as a member of the undead class in that it in no way resembles a human. It appears as a near-transparent rectangle with varying dimensions. It moves along ceilings and attacks by dropping on a potential victim. If it hits the intended target, it envelops him, causing suffocation. A victim enveloped by a Sheet Phantom cannot move, and any damage inflicted on the Sheet Phantom while it is enveloping a captive will also accrue to that victim. If the victim of a Sheet Phantom's enveloping dies from suffocation or as a result of damage inflicted by his comrades, the Sheet Phantom merges with his body, and the whole becomes a Sheet Ghoul. There are sufficient similarities between this creature and the lurker above, lending credits to the speculation that one is some kind of undead form of the other. So they illustrate it like a ghost, but it officially doesn't even have the face. It's just a big white rectangle that drops on you and wraps around you. And that, if it kills you, it turns you into the Sheet Ghoul. The Sheet Ghoul attacks with its 2 claws, and by squirting a fine jet of corrosive acid from its nose. Why does it do that? That's awful. So it's not even supposed to be the classic like bedsheet ghost at all. It's just this weird thing. This weird thing that turns you into a corpse with a squirting nose. The Shocker is an electric humanoid guy. That's pretty much all there is to the Shocker. Skeleton Warrior. Skeleton Warrior is a warrior skeleton, and that's all there really is to the Skeleton Warrior. Skulk is a human depicted as like transparent against a brick wall, or like maybe changed color like a chameleon. They are people who were so cowardly they gained camouflage, like octopus camouflage powers. And now we're on the Slad. Slad-eye. I don't know. I guess that's how you pronounce it, just Slad. These are great. These are also classic. By the time we're done with the Slad, I'll have been reading this for 3.5 hours. So I think we can end with the Slads. The Slad-eye are great frog-like beings who dwell on the outer plane of Limbo, where also dwell the Githzerai. Their form is of a large bipedal frog, though some of the more powerful Slad-eye have polymorph self or shape change, and will sometimes appear as men. In frog form, their heads are huge, and their claws are extremely sharp and long. I remember the development about, the development of these. I remember reading about it. Basically, they wanted to create something that was kind of equivalent to angels or demons, but for chaotic neutrality, for the chaotic neutral realms. So like the heavens have angels, the hells have demons and devils, and the limbos have these froggy guys that were kind of going for kind of like a Lovecraftian feel. Blue Slad. This is a grumpy-looking frog man with claws, little blades on the back of his hands. Though the blue variety is stronger than the red, the blue Slad is still a relatively weak member of the Slad race, more often used to run errands and carry out missions for the masters than for anything else. Its main color is light electric blue, broken by streaks of gray. There's a great sense of rivalry between blue and red Slad-eye, and neither type will help the other, except in the direst emergency. On each of the blue Slad's claws are 2 scimitar-like blades. Thus the creature has effectively 4 claw attacks. Not much to that one. They have only defensive psionics. Death Slad, the Lesser Masters. I like how terrible looking this Slad is. A slightly hairy frog man. Only 4 of these fearsome monsters are known to exist. They have rarely been seen in Slad form, since they use human form exclusively on the prime material plane. They like to wield swords. They have a whole bunch of magic powers. Green Slad. A little rotten little frog man. If a green Slad has its mortal form destroyed, but its symbol remains intact, it will reincarnate after 24 hours as a blue Slad. A year later, it turns green again. Gray Slad, the Executioners. There's a real nasty looking one with jaggedy teeth. The most feared non-master Sladai, being the ones most often sent to the prime material plane as executioners of their master's will. They appear in normal form as relatively small Sladai, a uniform light gray in color. There's not much differentiating most of the color-coded Slad in terms of gimmicks. Red Slad. This one I remember is a little more. There's a little bit more to the Red Slad. Yeah. Embedded in the skin under each of the Red Slad's claws is a gland which produces small pellets. Each time it hits with a claw attack, there is a 40% chance that a pellet will be transferred into the flesh of its victim. A pellet thus lost is renewed immediately in the Slad's skin. Once embedded, the pellet can only be affected by certain magical spells, which must be cast in that period before death occurs. The pellet is neutralized by alter reality, cure disease, slow poison, can be removed from the... Yeah, so it implants you with a little death spore. It's a very strange and interesting concept I haven't seen before. It just makes these little organic little pill things. It injects into you and you will die a couple days later. Yeah, in later editions it turns you into a Slad, which is interesting but also kind of obvious. But then we're on the Slads with non-frog illustrations. Sendam, Lord of the Insane, is a Slad Lord. The illustration shows just jelly. A pile of jelly with 3 tentacles and a brain floating inside. This weird creature is claimed by some to be the most powerful of the Sladai. He either wanders the prime material plane as a man, wearing no armor but using the black sword as a weapon, or as a golden amoeba with a man's brain in place of a nucleus. In amoebic form, he fights by extruding 3 corrosive pseudopods, each up to 10 feet long. When encountered, Sendam always gives his true name, though woe betide he who tries to use it. Yeah, you can, like with demons, you can summon Slads if you know their names. But I guess he doesn't necessarily do what you want if you summon him. And there's Goral, Lord of Entropy. This one looks like a black skeleton with bat wings, riding a dragon. It has some kind of weird little... Actually, still kind of a frog head, now that I think about it, but it's a black, frog skull with fins on the sides. This fearsome Slad Lord always appears as a skeletal black, flightless, bat-winged man wielding a sickle. He's always in shadow. The sickle is made of adamantite and has the word death inscribed on its blade in the Slad tongue. That's pretty metal. But he's riding a little dragon. Where is that mentioned? I see. When on the prime material plane, Goral rides a neutral, huge, ancient brass dragon called Shkiv and can command undead. So that's Goral and Shkiv. So yeah, like I said, I should stop here because now I've been going for 3.5 hours and my voice is going to give out. But we're a little over halfway through, and I do want to do the rest of this one maybe next week at the same time. I always say that, and then I always get sidetracked or postpone more streams. I want to really try to read the rest of this one next week. There's some very, very good monsters coming up. But that's the Fiend Folio so far. The little chaos frog demons and the flump and the Githyanki and way too many little goblin men. So many little goblin men. That big Grell drawing is so cool, though. Gorble. Yeah, there's the flump again. I wanted to end on the flump again. But yeah, thanks for coming by if you did. And subscribe if you can, because that has been helping me out a little.